What the frick is up, you little pumpkin snatchers? It's Halloween. We just had Halloween. Actually, it's not Halloween anymore. Episode 59 of Plat Chat Valorant, presented by T-Mobile.
You asked that question 3 times before we started.
You just said Plat Chat Valorant.
Whoops. Plat Chat Overwatch. I meant Plat Chat Overwatch. Presented by T-Mobile. As you can see, we've got a special guest.
Oh my God.
Matthew DeLisi, Mr. DeLisi, is joining us. We booted Johnny off. Super feels really bad about it, don't you?
I thought it was gonna be like an addition. Everyone was gonna be like slided over a bit, but I didn't realize I kicked them off. So my bad.
Yeah.
But I'm here, so you know, it's just gotta make things work.
It's taking too long for this to happen.
Apparently, you've been putting very passive-aggressive comments on your stream towards Bren, who was donor walling you.
Well, no, well, it's not that. He was actually in my stream. I think it was yesterday, and he came in, he said something, and then I asked him a question, and then he just said something completely different. I just got completely donut walled. I was like, all right. I mean, I guess there's just no interest.
Yeah.
No, well, the best part is he put in our Discord that he's like, oh, Super wants to come on Plat Chat, but then didn't say anything after. So then I went in and I typed in all caps as the CEO of Plat Chat, and I reached out.
Yeah.
And that's all you had to do, Bren, was say, hey, do you want to do this?
How does it feel? How does it feel, though, Super, that it was harder to get on our show compared to the Jimmy Fallon show?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was on that twice before I was on here once. I mean, I guess it's to show you.
You know, we just don't take anybody.
Yeah, we have very high standards. Once you won the Overwatch League twice, then you can be on our show. Then you can.
Yeah, next week we're gonna get the president on the show.
I got a call the other day. It was weird. It was what did you say?
We're gonna get the president on the show next week. We only don't know who it is. 3
Next
guests
week.
all time. The next president, Super, and John Spector. Those are the only three.
Yeah.
Only 3 people that are high enough caliber to get on this show.
Oh yeah, make sure you go vote if you're not already. Create a little voting plan. There you go. There's my little politics plug. That's what you're getting out of me. All right, Matt, take it away.
What am I taking away?
I don't know.
He did the politics. You do the Overwatch.
You were supposed to tell a story.
Yeah, I got a call the other day. It was out of the blue, and it's from a friend of mine. And they were like, Bren, listen. I need your help. And I'm like, okay. This is weird, right? Because I don't get many calls.
And you don't have many friends.
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah, I actually despise you. I got a call out of the blue, and he was like, Bren, I need your help. This weird blind guy has broken into my house, and he's threatening me.
What?
Who was calling you?
A friend of mine from the UK.
Oh, from the UK, right?
Yeah. And then he was like, this weird blind guy's broken into my house. Do you remember a couple of weeks back when we got robbed and the guy held me at gunpoint and said, if you don't answer the questions, then I'm going to shoot you. But he was actually blind, so he couldn't see me Googling the answers on my T-Mobile 5G device at the same time. I was
like, where is this guy go? Oh, my God.
well, listen, it's the same robber. And then he had my friend at gunpoint, but he'd also gone... Yeah, in the UK.
He flew to the UK to rob your friend.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, actually. I don't know how he got past the quarantine measures. But in the end, my friend was like, Bren, I need your help. You need to tell me what era the Homo erectus was from. I was like, okay, no problem.
Bren Homo erectus is his absolute
so I said, no problem. I popped onto the PC. What do you know? The guy, before he flew to the UK, cut the cables in my internet again.
Again.
I know, again. I only just noticed. I don't know how that happened.
Good at this.
I only just noticed. It's so weird. But he must, anyway. And so I was like, oh, shit, what the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I remembered, actually, the last time I had been in this exact same scenario, that is completely true, by the way. The last time I'd been in this scenario, just pull out the phone. Just looked it up on 5G.
Did you have the bars?
So I just called up my mate and said, get T-Mobile 5G, and then you'll be all right. And then I hung up on him. I haven't actually heard back from him since, but it's an important lesson to you that if you don't have 5G, T-Mobile's 5G connection, you're going to be a bit screwed. Now, where was I going with this story?
Don't know.
I just did the overlay because I thought you just fizzled out there.
I mean, this entire story has been fizzling, to be honest with you. But T-Mobile's 5G connection has got coverage in all 50 states. T-Mobile is America's largest 5G network, and even better, no other 5G signal goes farther to bring you closer to the Overwatch League and keep you connected to the game. So rank up and take your wireless game to the next level with T-Mobile, and visit T-Mobile.com today. And don't be like my friend, because I actually haven't heard back from him. You know, the burglars been getting to him and stuff.
Anyway, these burglars.
Unfortunate.
We might have to edit that story down a little bit.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
We'll fix that
Honestly,
in post.
It'll be snappy. It'll have a punchline.
Yeah,
we'll
you know, it'll be,
post.
and most importantly, it'll be funny. We'll make sure
Yeah,
we
you
fix
struggle
that.
with that a bit. I
We'll
think.
do
I
some
think the problem was you went quiet at the end when everyone knows loud is funny, Bren. So you should have just gone loud at the end and it would have been funny.
I went quiet because I just didn't have confidence in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
know?
I feel like you were kind of just like going off the beaten path. I don't really know what was going on there.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, let's get into the thick of things here as I pull up the Runner Show again, for the 20th time, and start with section 1: Grand Finals interview / 2x champion Super. Thanks for joining us, coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How have you
The
been? I've seen
two-time.
you delving into, you know,
The
Minecraft
back-to-back.
speedruns.
Yes,
You've
this
been
is
on-
true.
You've been on TV. You've been flying
This is true.
around, just jet setting. What's life been like for you after the Overwatch League Grand Finals?
Well, I've just been, I don't know, I've been chilling because, you know, I was busy working for a long time. I do hard work and,
Grafting,
you know,
earning the
when-
bread for the table, for the family.
exactly. And,
Yeah.
you know, Korea was fun, even though I couldn't do too much. But, you know, we went out there, did our thing, got business done, and then came back to America. And I'm just chilling now.
Where are you now? Are you home or
Yeah,
are
I'm
you in
back home.
LA? Made it all the way back to the East Coast. How
Correct.
was the
LA.
how was the quarantine?
You know, it's funny because when I was doing like a pre-interview thing for like the Jimmy, like, you know, for Jimmy Fallon, and I went into some of the more you know, I guess not so pleasant details, and they were like, yeah, maybe don't talk about that. So like, yeah, I guess I get to talk about that here.
What were the not pleasant details?
Well, okay,
Yeah.
well, for one, I clogged my toilet on the third day. I don't know how. Listen, it wasn't my fault. I just, you know, I had to go in the bathroom. I had to do my business.
The food must have been good.
The food was,
Lots of snacks.
yeah, well, that's true. Blizzard did send us a bunch of like ramen and snacks and stuff, so that was
Oh,
nice.
hell yeah.
Go shout
But the
Blizzard.
actual food they gave was like, well, first of all, it was always cold. Like no matter, even if I picked it up as soon as they delivered it, it was always cold. It was barely ever above like a 4. Like it's just, it wasn't great.
Mhm.
But you know, I managed to get through it. And yeah, the toilet, listen, it wasn't really my fault. I was in the morning, I went to the bathroom, I did my routine, I tried to flush, it wouldn't flush. I was like, okay, now I gotta call them to come in and fix it. And the guy comes in with a hazmat suit, he opens the toilet seat, there's like, you know, poop in his face there. I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's just how life goes sometimes. But the point is, you know,
You're a champion. That's the point.
exactly. You know, you go through trials and tribulations and you make things work as best as you can.
Jesus Christ.
Was
You'll
there
have
anything
that
else?
story forever.
Yeah.
Were
I don't
there
know
any
if you
more
wanna
like
tell a story too, but-
any more moments that they said just don't say that on the Jimmy Fallon show?
I mean, not really. I guess I talked about like the cold porridge that I got like 3 times. That was like kind of bland, and they didn't really want to. I guess they didn't really talk about that too much.
No, that sounds like great TV. You just keep molding about cold Korean porridge.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, and then we had to play on the laptop, obviously, which was kind of because I in my hotel room I played on a laptop with the extra monitor that we brought in a Pelican case. By the way, did you know Pelican cases are like hundreds of dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Pelican case that I had was more expensive than the monitor, which is kind of crazy. But you know, just had to had that going, and then
What was the
That was
situation
that.
with the PCs then? Because Moth built his own cool little PC,
He had
and the
that
rest
from
of you
Rogue,
little
yeah.
brainlets couldn't put one together. Is that?
okay.
Did
Well,
he just go off on his own and make
He
one?
had that at the beginning of the year.
yeah, his plan was at the beginning of the year he was gonna bring it to all the homestands,
Ah.
and play in the hotel rooms when they have, because you know there was gonna be a lot of downtime.
That sounds like a responsible adult.
Yeah, but you know, I didn't. Well, I actually asked him if he can help me make a mini PC, and he said no. So I just thought, I don't really know what I'd do about that. I was like, yeah, if I, you know, did this, could you help me? And he said no. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not getting any help.
He wouldn't just give you a parts list or something.
I mean, he had the parts list, but I don't know how to. These mini PC, have you seen it? It's like packed, jammed.
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah,
have you ever made a PC before though? It'll just be exactly the same. But
No,
smaller,
Josh, it's
sure.
not.
No, it's not the same.
It's not the
Really?
same. Yeah, it's like you actually struggled to build a PC where your case was the size of half your room. I remember it. You didn't even use a
Yeah.
static wristband, and you
Well,
almost fried your
exactly,
PC.
It's even easy for me. Like even I was able to
Yeah,
put a
but-
PC
but
together.
when
And I'm
you-
a
When you have to fit it in a
Three-head.
small container, I can understand why Moff said no, because you need like it's hard.
you need
Friends of
tiny
the
little
mob.
spindly arms.
Yeah,
is that what
you
you're
got to try and
saying?
fit that shit in. I mean, that's pretty. That's
I mean,
pretty
it
clever.
looks tight though, doesn't it? It's like
That
a
monitor-
poster.
But
that monitor, I
that's-
think, is like 240 hertz as well.
Yeah,
I think
that
it's
monitor
like
is a 17-inch 240 hertz monitor that he bought also for traveling, and that PC literally fits in his suitcase. Like it's the tiniest thing ever. You'd be amazed if you saw it.
That
He
was
would fit
mega cool.
his PC and his monitor both in the suitcase. But I didn't do that because I thought, well, it's whatever. And then it turns out that it was probably the most important thing that he did for the whole year because we were in the hotel room for 14 days and he got to play on that. But apparently, and that's what I was working with.
Yo, your setup's clean.
Honestly, that's not that bad. I thought it would
Yeah.
be worse than that.
Yeah, but like when I was like streaming, I was getting like 80 FPS. It was like,
Oh, how tragic that I can't stream at high FPS while in quarantine in a hotel
Okay,
in
first of all,
Korea.
the internet was completely fine. Like I had no
Yeah.
problems with the internet. And then people always complain like, "Oh, boo-hoo! I get at 50 FPS." Am I allowed to swear on this? I think I am.
Yeah,
right?
'cause
'cause
bro, I
yeah,
swore in the
always
sponsor
bitching.
intro.
They're like,
Don't
they're
say a
like,
fucking word.
yeah, they're like 50 FPS. I get 50 FPS, but I'm like, the thing is, if it's like consistent, and then it's fine. But when you're at like 140, then it drops to 90, and then it goes back to
Yeah,
120, and like when it keeps
yeah.
bouncing over the place, it feels funky.
It does,
Yeah.
It's horrific. Did you see like Funny Astro had his piled up on toilet paper?
Yeah, I
He had the
did.
laptop on
I
toilet
did
paper.
see
That's
that.
absolutely tragic.
Did you do anything after? You didn't stay in
After-
Korea long, did you?
No, because we were there for the 14 days in quarantine, and then we had like however long it was. Because we also played the All-Star game on my laptop.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun or interesting, I guess. But then I mean, after finals, we were only there for an extra day, and then we went back home. But when we were there for the extra day, we went to a place called, I think it's Namsan Tower, and it's
Namsan Tower.
yeah, and you take like a cable car up to the top, and you get like a nice view of the whole
I
city. and-
actually, my first week in Korea, I was like trying to fix my sleep schedule. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I decided to just walk randomly in Seoul, and I ended up accidentally hiking up to that tower.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
really nice up there.
It is nice, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Josh haven't left the Los Angeles area.
I haven't left my
in
apartment.
decades. Yeah. So there's no
Did you do
traveling.
anything afterwards though, like to celebrate winning?
Oh yeah, I mean we went out together so when we were finished it was like 1:30, 1:40 a.m. But then we had a press conference that we like in Korea, and then we had a press conference after that we had to do that went until like 2:45. So we didn't get back to the hotel until like 3 a.m.
Wait, the
And then we
games
were-
were that late?
Well, because we started at 10 p.m.
Like 10 p.m. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah. And then we went back to the hotel. It was like 3, and our plan was to just like order in food and like celebrate there. But our manager called up a place that was nearby, and they were like, "Listen, it's like 3. It was like a 24/7 restaurant."
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're not getting any business at this time. So if you let us in and then close it off, so like no COVID precautions, like close off the restaurant and just let us be in there by ourselves, then like we'll come and we'll order food and stuff." And they said sure. So then we went in. We were there. We had food. And we had beverages of certain quantities
lemonade.
of different things. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Water, water,
Yeah, lots of
loads
water.
of water.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Loads
Gotta
of
stay
water.
hydrated.
Yeah.
And we were there till like 6:30 a.m. And then I walked back to my hotel, and then that was that.
I
You
would have
came
stayed a
back.
couple of days more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like-
but the thing was Blizzard booked our flights, and if we wanted to stay any days past that, then we had to pay for it out of our own pockets. And that, I mean, come on.
What do you mean? Come on, you just won the Overwatch League.
So
Man's got a plan for the future. Those
Yeah,
are those
man.
investments going into stocks.
also, if
Yeah,
I
man,
did
plan
that,
for the
then
future.
if I had to pay like for my own flight back, then it wouldn't have been a business class flight because Blizzard got us business class flights.
Oh,
So do I
that's
really want to
pretty
give up the
nice.
business class?
Sweet.
yeah. No, you don't want to have to pay for the business
Exactly.
class.
Blizzard
Yeah,
gets you
just come
business
back.
class. Blizzard's never got me business class.
Well, I
No.
mean, a super obviously is extremely important.
He's
know-
on another level.
You're not as tall and important as Super.
That's
Well,
true,
Yeah,
I
definitely
actually.
not as tall.
they told us that they did it because you know, because we were already at a disadvantage going there, so they want us to be like
Yeah,
as
that's a good
comfortable as possible. So
Yeah, that's good that they went extra mile to try
yeah,
and
I was
make it as
surprised.
simple as possible.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the scrims because it always gets funky when you're in like the late stage of a tournament
Right.
because we don't know like who's even playing anymore. Like when we're doing the casting and we're coming into the finals, we're like, oh, these guys, who the hell have they even been scrimming against? Especially when you move over to Korea. And so if you had like you guys on the Shock, you used to have a big enough roster so that you would have, what was it, like Sleepy and somebody else come in and just be your B team.
That was
basically.
last season, I think.
Yeah, that was last
Right.
season, right? But what I mean is, you can't do that when you're in Korea, presumably, because then your B team would be playing on some
Yeah.
players on 200 ping. So what's the deal there? Like, what's the plan for teams when they go over there?
Yeah, wait a minute. There it is. We had.
Get it out.
That's that porridge coming back up from.
I just ate dinner actually, so I had to get my dinner before I
Is
came
Mama
on.
DeLisi cooking something good?
Yeah, she did actually. She cooked. She made like I forget what the, I
Yeah.
don't, it's like she made like it was like Polish stuffed cabbage, like it has like rice and like beef and pork
Ooh.
inside. It was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
good.
Hmm.
My girlfriend makes that, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I had some of those, pretty tasty. So yeah, in Korea we scrimmed mostly contender teams because obviously. I know we scrimmed like Element Mystic a few times. We scrimmed Talon, we scrimmed Runaway. We scrimmed Philly a lot actually.
Interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Is that
And-
because you guys started on opposite sides of the bracket?
Yeah.
Or you just wanted to keep things away from the Asian teams? Like, what's the
Well, we
idea
didn't want to
there?
scrim Seoul obviously because they were our first match. We did scrim Shanghai one time, but that was it. And then I don't know, Philly, we just kind of kept going with Philly. And then when we needed extra players, like we called like some extra, like Architect helped us out a lot.
Yeah.
And then we had just a bunch of random different players who could fit in at any time. And then we just did our scrims like normal. But yeah, as for playing Philly, I think we just did it because that's just who we went with, like that was just kind of how it was.
Was Philly doing all right in scrims, or were you guys just rolling them?
Yeah, I get people ask me that a lot, and honestly, Philly was not the best in scrims. To be like completely honest, like we kind of rolled them a lot.
Yeah.
But once they started playing Ana more instead of Zen, I think they had better. They fared better. But like when they were like mirroring us in the Zen, it wasn't even close. And I think they kind of screwed themselves over because for a while they kept like for the first like week or so that they were there, they kept trying to run like the monkey diva dive still.
Mm.
And like we had already transitioned over the Roadhog at that point. And so like I remember when we would scrim Oasis, they would play like monkey diva dive on Oasis every single time, and we would roll them every time. But they like never swapped, and we were like, I don't know why they're not like trying to just.
yeah,
try
They
to just-
I guess they're
probably-
just trying to force it because they were really good at it. And they were
I
just
guess.
hoping that it would still be viable.
They probably got hung up on the fact that they beat Washington with it, and then they were like, "Well, if we beat Washington with it, like
Yeah,
we should be fine." But clearly that wasn't the case.
Interesting.
yeah, and then they just and then finally they swapped, but I feel like they kind of screwed themselves over in that aspect. And then once we mirrored them, it was kind of just they didn't really. I don't know.
Did you guys know? Like, I guess right after the NA playoffs ended, did you guys have a good idea you were going to have to play some Roadhog going into that final stretch? Like, he was just too good.
Yeah, Roadhog was he was nasty. He was just nasty. I mean, especially because like Seoul kind of stomped in the APAC playoffs using only Roadhog, and then they had to make Shanghai go Roadhog in the what was it, upper bracket final. And then Justice obviously like wiped everybody with only using Roadhog. So we thought, Roadhog is probably gonna have to be the thing that we're gonna switch to, and that's just what we did.
What was the process of like figuring that out? Because the bracket was kind of interesting. I mean, like you guys had a really close game against Washington,
Right.
where it felt like you were literally adapting on the fly. Like it felt like you guys had not figured stuff out at that point.
Yeah.
And then you get to the final part as well. and you beat Philadelphia in the finals. Like, at what point did you guys feel like you had got a good read on what was going on?
Well, I feel like we knew that Philly, well, against Philly, we knew that they were just gonna go, what's it, the monkey
Yeah,
Eagle
the
rush,
Sombra.
and we were just confident in the mirror, so we just ran that. But I think it was really kind of unfortunate for Justice that they couldn't run Hog Sigma, because that was what ended up being the stronger comp. So I feel like that's why a lot, like on I remember against or on Volskaya against Justice, we still ran like our dive comps with like our spam, because with the Zarya, it was so hard to like close that gap and get closer. So we were kind of just like, doing what we did in scrims against Justice. But then after that, we were kind of like, okay, this might not be what we have to do going forward. And then we just kind of tried things out in scrims and went on from there.
Interesting.
It feels like that's always the way with playoffs. Is like you somewhere along the route you get, because we always have these massive patches right before the playoffs hit. It feels like people are adapting as they play the matches. So you have to be good enough to get by even when you don't have a great read, and then when you have to also be like super fast and able to get the proper read as well on the meta.
Right.
Like, do you feel like that's something that you guys do better than other teams? Like when I look at Philadelphia, for example, it just seemed like they were slow to adapt. And people talk about it being lucky that you get a meta that's good for you, but like you guys have performed in multiple metas at this point.
You're consistently lucky now.
You're gonna get me going before I want to get going. But yeah, I mean, people, because whatever, I'll just talk about that later. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it is about adapting, because like, I mean, people always say, oh, playoff patches, whatever, but like, I don't know. You have to be able to adapt. That's just how it is. Like, that's just, people are always going to complain about it, but if you don't adapt, then do you like, if you can't perform at the highest level all the time, then like, do you really deserve to win? Who knows? That's, I guess you could discuss that with whoever, but I mean, I feel like we're pretty good. Shock is pretty good at adapting like mid-match, and making adjustments. I think that kind of like that shift kind of happened like after stage 1 finals in season 2, because we had like we were actually up 3-2 in stage 1 finals against Titans, and then we kind of we lost the last 2 maps. But I think after that point, and then going forward, we got a lot better about adapting mid-match, and I think we just have, at the end of the day, a lot more experience than other teams did. So
yeah.
What did you think of like the Korean contenders teams and just the Asian teams overall? Because you didn't get a chance to play against any of them during the year. It felt like it felt like every few weeks on this show, we would like APAC, and then we would think NA is better, then we would think APAC is better, and it just kind of bounced back and forth. What did you think at the end?
Well, okay, so I think the best contenders team we scrimmed was Talon, I think, in Korea. Talon was really good.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And then I don't know, we scrimmed, like I said, we scrimmed Shanghai one time. We did beat them in that scrim, actually. But it was kind of funny, because they used a, what's it called, the ball Sigma comp on us on one map. And we like, hey, that's pretty good. We don't mind that. And then we kind of just stole it, and then we used it on a bunch of other maps against them, and then we pummeled them into the ground. And we were like, okay, that's pretty good. We'll save that. And then that's what we did on, what was it, Busan in the finals. Where we did the ball.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of kept it. I don't know. Listen, okay. NA versus APAC. This is something I thought about for a long time. Okay, I do think Shanghai was a good team. I do think that they were. I mean, whatever the record was, 26-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
21-2 in the regular season, not including tournaments, whatever it was. They were good. They had good coaching. They were good players. I think they were good. But I really don't think the rest of APAC is as good as everyone made them out to be. And I think that there was a really big APAC circle jerk that kind of went on in the whole season. And, people always talked about how London did in NA compared to how they did when they moved to APAC. But I mean, first of all, who do they even who did they even play and who did they win against at NA? I think they won against like Washington and Boston or something. Like those are like 2 of the 3 teams they beat, and we all know those are like that's like
Bottom tier.
the bottom of the bottom.
I think they beat the Gladiators Seoul in their first game. Did they beat
No.
Gladiators in NA?
No.
Who'd they beat?
They beat Mayhem, but that was before Mayhem got good.
The game good.
Yeah, they beat Outlaws and Justice. They were like,
let me pull up the thing real quick.
yeah, they were like fairly consistently being able to be just a little bit above the bad teams in NA.
Right. But yeah, go on.
No, Seoul was just all over the place the whole year. Like I think like the Shanghai I think was clearly a very good team.
Yeah.
I think that is without saying. I think Seoul in a good meta was a very good team. I think you look down the rest of APAC. I don't think they're like. I think they're on par with some of the middle of the pack in NA. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe you get better, but
I
like,
don't see how it's any different to NA though. I mean, in terms of the strength of the teams, like I feel like on average you can find. I mean, there's just less teams in Asia in the APAC region, so when you look at it quite broadly, you can look at like teams like Boston and Washington and say, yeah, they were worse across the board than London. But generally speaking, like at various points, there's always going to be the one really good team, like at any time. Like I think in NA it would be you guys, Shock, and then in APAC you had Shanghai. But then below that, you always had like a second team that was swapping in and out. Like at times it was maybe Guangzhou early.
I don't know.
or,
Fusion were a very consistent second team when you sum up the whole
not
of the
not in
season.
tournaments.
No, but
well, no, they were consistently second actually.
They did get second in the last.
they're
two,
pretty
yeah.
good at second. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the main reason that NA got criticized so much and like talked about as being the weaker region is because there were 6 bad teams, not just London. And like sometimes you could argue that Chengdu were thrown in there or on a bad meta like Seoul, but there was like Boston, Justice, Titans, Outlaws, Toronto, and to some extent Dallas once they started to fall to pieces as well. They're like all freebie wins kind of that were padding the stats of some of the, like for example your Florida Mayhem, they're 14-5, but I don't really know that Florida were better than, I don't know, New York, who are 9-7 for example. But I think that Florida's win rate got inflated by playing such a large amount of bad teams.
Okay, well, here's what I think. I think so. I mean, you almost have double the amount of teams that are in NA compared to APAC, right? So you have 13 teams in NA compared to 7 in APAC. And I think it's pretty easy to say that Shanghai was the best team in APAC, even disregarding finals. I think APAC, you could say Shanghai was the best team because I mean, look at the rest of the region. I mean, London was a bottom tier in APAC. Chengdu, I mean, despite what people say about Chengdu, they had that one decent tournament that they did, but like Chengdu really was not a great team.
No, they were a bit of a flop this year. They didn't do anything this year.
And then you look at Seoul, who it was like a 50-50. If they were good in the meta, they were good, and if they didn't understand it, they just planked. They just did terribly. So
they
that
took time off. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And what was that? 1, 2. So that's already 3 of the teams there.
Hangzhou,
yeah, they weren't even that great. I mean, disregarding tournament wins, half of the teams.
Once you get to like Hangzhou, you're looking at they're at least as good as like an Atlanta to me. You know, like you're already up to.
What I'm saying is half of the league, half of the teams in APAC have a sub 50 record. So only like because Shanghai is like they're like hoarding all the wins. They're like they're just keeping them all for themselves.
Like Smog the dragon.
Yeah, and my point is that Shanghai is so much better than these other teams that when you play such a limited amount of teams because your scrim partners aren't really too like. Everything's more, I feel like, tight knit when there's like that few amount of teams. And so if the coaching is just better, then like you don't really have to diversify your strats too much because, I guess except for Chengdu, because who knows what that team's doing. But I just feel like it's not, it was just too easy for Shanghai. Like, and if you put like, some of the better teams in in NA, like I think if you put Mayhem in there, and even if you put Valiant, I think they would do a lot better than some of the other teams did at the bottom of the leaderboards in APAC.
Do you think there's
Paris
any?
well.
Yeah, Paris.
Yeah,
I mean,
Paris and
definitely.
Genji meta
where they
even,
were playing well. Yeah. But like, do you? Okay, here's what I want to do here as well. Is like, do you think any of the NA teams would beat Shanghai if they had actually been an APAC team?
Um,
Would
on
they have been
like
at the
any
top?
given day, or what do you?
No, I mean consistently over the course of the season. If, for example, Paris or Mayhem or whatever, I'm kind of excluding Shock and Philly here because we know that they're on the same kind of level over the course of the season. But like from 3 downwards in NA, could you have taken one of those teams and said, actually, you're not an NA team, you're an APAC team. Go over there and play with the other kids. Would any of them finish higher than Shanghai?
Well, who do you think is the third best team, or was the third best team in NA?
I mean, statistically, it's Florida, but I think most people would say it was Paris.
I thought Florida was really strong. Honestly, I think Florida was
Yeah.
one of the better teams this entire season. I think Florida actually would have a decent chance against Shanghai because in what was it, our May Melee, I thought Florida was really good, and same
Yeah.
thing in the Countdown Cup. Florida, I really think they were a good team. But I think had they read the meta properly in NA, like if they went Roadhog instead of doing Dive, I feel like they might have been the second team to go to
APAC. Yeah.
APAC, really. 'Cause I was really high on Florida this whole season. So I think Florida could at least give Shanghai a run for their money. And like I said, the reason I chose Florida is because if you put Florida and slotted them into APAC, they would do better than probably New York, maybe even Guangzhou. Not so sure, but definitely better than New York.
So I guess
I look at Florida though, and Florida just beat up on like mid to bottom level teams all season long. Like they had good performances they like pushed some of the top level guys, but apart from that one win over Philly, when Philly just planked in the May Melee and had no idea what they were doing, they just kind of got their wins over a lot of the middling teams.
I think
They haven't actually beaten a top level team at any point. Like I don't see how they would beat Shanghai.
I think the point Stuber's trying to make is that APAC with such little teams, like there was never really a point where Shanghai had to like adapt or like really kind of reinvent their game because everybody knew each other so well. And I think Shanghai just knew they were so talented they were just going to beat everybody else.
But the thing is,
right?
they totally did. Like they totally did have to reinvent their game because we had hero pools all season long. So like they played a bunch of different metas. Everybody did. Like you couldn't just run. With one
How
style
big of
all
a
season.
change was hero pools week to week? Super.
I mean, there were some because like the way hero pools worked was like they banned, like it was based off of like percentages, right? So
Yeah.
like even if like there was like a team or two that was running like a kind of like a niche strategy, like that still had a chance to be banned, and like the meta could have like stayed basically the same minus a DPS hero or a support hero here or there. There were some times where it had to like drastically change. Like if a Risa got banned, then you have to, okay, maybe it's Dive this week. But then, there were definitely weeks where you had a very similar meta for a few weeks in a row. So it's not like, I'm not gonna say that hero pools didn't matter, but it's not like it was always changing every single week drastically.
Yeah.
Overstated.
I will say as well, like Shanghai particularly were not very impressive in the Genji meta. Like when the Genji meta actually came around in the Summer Showdown, it wasn't just that Guangzhou looked great. Like that's what I feel happened in NA. Paris with Sparkle just looked supremely good. And they had all the right pieces and it just fit them and they just went like boom straight to the top of the table. And it was close and you guys played them to like 5 and Philly
5
played
maps.
them to 7 or something. So it's not like they were dominant, but they were significantly better. Whereas in APAC, all of the teams looked significantly worse. Like Guangzhou won, but they were like the only team that had a decent read on how to play that meta, I feel. So that was, I definitely, I see the argument, but at the same time, I mean, I don't even think that we got conclusive proof from the playoffs though, because apart from Shock, it was the APAC teams that went further. So like you have number 1 is NA, then 2 and 3 are APAC, and then number 4 was NA again.
Yeah.
So, and that's just one meta. It's like a microcosm. It's very difficult to be able to tell.
Yeah. Also, I want to say a lot of people say that Philly choked. Listen, they did not choke. They just completely shit the bed. Like honestly, like they didn't have a good read. I feel like they were just, their strats and everything that they were doing was bad. And I wouldn't really say that they choked. It was just they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, they pooped the bed a bit.
Exactly.
You could tell I casted I think it was Justice Paris where they put Sparkle in on the Zarya, and then you could tell when they kind of like panicked in their second game and they pretty much realized like, oh well, we have to play Fury Poco, and then like they took out Carpe.
Yeah.
They were just trying anything at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, speaking of Philly, I don't know why they didn't. I think Fury Poco, because I'm pretty sure they had a scrim against us where they tried Fury Poco on the Sigma Hog and they looked decent. Or
Yeah.
like I think they look better, but then they went back to Sato for some reason, and then they did it in the
Yeah.
match against what was it, on King's Row?
Yeah, it
But
was just
like a
absolute desperation.
But I think
right?
I don't think that was really practice, because we scrimmed them a lot and they didn't really do it in practice that much. Like I said, except for that one or maybe two times they tried it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Philly was just
Yeah.
it was just lost. It was really
when
really
you're going
strange.
when you're going into like official matches, are you ever thinking? I mean, you're probably one of the worst players to ask this question about, because generally speaking, Shock has been quite good over the course of the last 2 years. But like, do you think that scrim results play in the back of your mind when you're going into official matches? Have you ever played against a team and maybe the scrims weren't too hot on the day or in the previous week? Does that play on your mind, do you think, for Philly? Do you think that affected their run in the playoffs, the fact that you guys fucking rolled them? Was it secretly you guys who had boomed Philly from the start?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for me personally, like I never want to go in. I never go into a match like thinking about, oh, like I never go into a match thinking that I'm gonna lose, like in the
Sure.
first place. Like I'm always thinking, okay, I'm gonna win and that's it. So I mean, maybe, but like especially if they were having like a tough few weeks, which I assume they were. I don't know how their scrims were against other teams. I don't know if they scrimmed Seoul or if they scrimmed whatever contenders teams. But I think maybe they just lost confidence, I guess,
Yeah.
because it was against us. It was just really hard for them to get much done. But
It sounds like
I said, when they
Yeah.
swapped to the Ana, I thought they were doing at least a little bit better as opposed to the Zen. But
I love the idea of Krusty being like, "Hey, Philly, KDG, you guys should scrim us. It'll be good for both of us. We'll boost the NA scene. Don't worry about it. Like we'll be a team together." And then just shit on them again and again and again and
well,
again.
I think part of the
Crush
reason
them.
I think part of the reason why we wanted to scrim, or we didn't want to scrim Shanghai, was because like I guess we saw them as like the biggest threats because they were
Sure.
like the best team, and like we didn't want to give too much away to them. But like I said, we did scrim that one time, but it was really weird. Like I don't know if you guys know, there's like a workshop mode that makes scrims go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
That so you can like teleport and like add time if you need to, or like skip the startup time so its scrims just go faster and smoother. But for some reason they didn't want to run it because they didn't want to show their stats, because it shows stats on the side of the screen for spectators, and it was very strange. But I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is
strange.
weird.
Okay.
I have a question on the overall season. Were there any teams you guys scrimmed during the year that performed like really well and then just like kind of pooped the bed? Because I remember when, like, I think it was earlier in the season where you were like, "Oh, Dallas is going to be really good."
Oh yeah,
There-
that was
yeah,
the
that was-
crazy
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was there any team that like you guys played and were like, "Oh my god, they could be like super good," and then they would just go out into match day and just poop themselves?
Please start with the Dallas.
Yeah, so the
explanation.
Dallas. I'm trying to think when that was. When I tried, because I do remember saying that when I said they were top 3 in NA.
Yeah.
I'm
when
gonna
did I
look it up.
say
It was when
that?
Decay was playing Tracer into Torbjorn comps and just running through people. I believe.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
Here it
I got
is.
hot.
It's from 5 months ago.
Maybe I got high on the
Decay juice.
It
decay
was from
train. But
May 25th, so it'll be just after the May melee.
I think it was because I felt like, well, I'm trying to think. So in the
People
May
were
melee,
playing Tracer Ash in
we
the May
played
melee.
right in the May melee. We played Dallas, then we played Valiant. Oh yeah, because we played Valiant second, and I thought Valiant was really weak compared. Like we just kind of, I don't know if you remember that game. We kind of just
Yeah,
rolled
they were
over
terrible.
Valiant, and then Mayhem beat Philly, who I didn't think was that great at the time either, to like in the playoffs. And then Dallas didn't look too terrible against us, honestly. Like they did a pretty decent job. They won the first map, and then Rialto they did really well. And then I think the other two maps were pretty close too, even though we won them. So I thought Dallas looked pretty strong in that showing, and Decay was doing some nasty things, like he does. And I was just like, you know what? I think Dallas has a pretty good foundation right now if they can if they can snowball, like even though they lost in the corners, if they can snowball this performance going forward, then I think they have a chance to do some real stuff here. And then I think they went like 0-9 their next 3 games. So it's like,
you know what teams they then went and played against? They had a 1-3 loss to the Florida Mayhem and a 0-3 loss to the Vancouver Titans.
I remember that.
That's what you did to Dallas, Super. That's what you did. You inflated all of their fans' hopes.
Mayhem, to be fair,
and they shit the bed.
To be fair, Mayhem, I thought was pretty. I thought they were pretty good. So losing 3-1 to the Mayhem, I mean, that's understandable. And then the Vancouver, well, that wasn't that like right? Like, I don't even,
That was the game.
I think that was what
Decay
said. Yeah, Decay said he wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
Decay said, "Fuck Super."
What was like the environment like for your team, Super, over the course of this year? Because you went from like last year, as far as I'm aware, you had a very like homely team environment. You're all under the same roof, spending a lot of time with each other, and then COVID hits. Like, I saw like tweets from Krusty over the course of the season, like kind of just venting about how difficult it has been. Like, was this a particularly, of course, it's a difficult season, but how hard was it for you guys, do you think, as a team and as a person?
Oh, I mean, it was definitely harder this year. I mean, like I talked to a bunch of players about, from other teams on my team about like just, general how they're doing and stuff. And a lot of teams and a lot of players were really miserable. And I think a lot of teams and a lot of players lost motivation. I talked about this a little bit on my stream, but it was just a lot of players that, like this is stuff that you probably won't ever see the light of day, but there were a lot of players that were like considering retirement, and there were a lot of players that were like so done with like everything because of COVID and a bunch of other stuff, and they just didn't want to, they were just so done with it that they didn't have motivation, they didn't want to play anymore. And there was a point for me too where like towards like it was like somewhere near the end of the season before we went to Korea, I was really miserable myself too, and I was just really upset, and I was I just didn't want to do stuff anymore because of, I guess, the mental toll and the mental strain that it had. And it was a bunch of stuff that kind of contributed to that, but it was not an easy season for, I don't think any team had an easy season.
Yeah,
I think it's because also the season started on like such a high, because the homestands were actually really strong at the beginning, and it was awesome. Like we were going like city to city, like it was packed. Everyone was playing in front of like tons of fans. Like I remember, I think Josh, you interviewed Super at Dallas, right?
Yeah, that was the only homestand that we got to go to.
Yeah, that was the only one you guys went to. And then like all of that was just kind of ripped away, and I can imagine for like the players, just to kind of be isolated, and then you're just practicing all day, but then you just have nowhere else to go.
In our apartments,
kind of like so you're like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't know. Like, you just kind of wait around and then like go again. Like
a lot of these guys
gotta be tough. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because I remember, because you remember like when COVID shut all the homestands down and the league was on like a month and a half hiatus or whatever it was, and we were talking to each other. We're like, do we even scrim? Like we don't know what to do. Yeah, because like we don't know like when the next time we're gonna play, or like like what the meta is gonna be at that point. Like, I mean, we took like a week off at some point because we were just like, well, we don't know the next time we're even gonna play. Like, is it even worth scrimming? Like, we didn't know how the league was gonna start back up, whether we were all gonna go somewhere, or it was gonna be online, whatever it was. So we were just like, okay, I guess we're just not gonna scrim for a week. And I mean, it was just it was rough, especially because we had to play all the matches in our apartments.
It's actually wild to even think about, like the fact that we were able to finish the season. Like it's like we just kind of like almost take it for granted, but like teams like moved to different regions during all of this. Like there was I remember like London wasn't playing games because they were moving from the States to Korea, New York as well. And like somehow through crazy math, everybody got around the same number of games played. And then like you guys are able to make it to Korea to play against the APAC teams. Like it's just like a crazy circumstance that I remember when the first homestand got canceled, I was like, oh, well, how many more do you think will cancel? Like, it's like, oh, I don't know, like maybe a few, and like it will be back. And then I was like, oh, we're not gonna be back. It's like nobody knew at the time, right?
You said that you were you had that period just before you went to Korea where things were like particularly rough. Was it the playoffs or the like actual victory, or like what gets you refocused in that situation?
I talked to a lot of people about just how I was feeling. I talked to my dad, talked to some friends, talked to some of my teammates. And you just gotta figure out, you gotta find some way, whatever it is, to just refocus yourself and get going, because it's just it was almost at the finish line at that point, and
Sure.
Yeah.
you have to just push forward.
Yeah.
What would you do? I mean, it's looking like the COVID situation is going to continue into 2021. I mean, the projections, who the hell
I mean,
knows?
the US hit a. I said this the other day. I said they hit a new career high in COVID cases per day.
High.
Because
You said career high.
I said career high because I just wasn't thinking. But it was like, what was it, 100K cases in the new day? So
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of stuff would you look to do? Like if you're entering 2021 and you as a player and you as a player giving advice to other players as well, like what would you say are important things to kind of make sure that you don't get fucking completely burnt out or demotivated?
I mean, you got to have someone to talk to, I think, and just like vent, because if you like keep up everything inside, then it's just going to be hard for you to keep going. Because I vented to so many people. I talked to, I don't know, just a bunch of people, and it really helps once you get how you're feeling out. I know it sounds kind of like cliche, but like that's just how it is, because you can't do anything else. You can't really see people too much. You can't go outside anywhere. There's nothing else you can really do except for stay inside.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you have other things so something that I always think about as well is a lot of people that get into gaming, one of the reasons that they get into gaming really heavily is because they have something else, and the gaming is the distraction or the focus or like what they enjoy doing with their time to take them into a different world other than the one that they inhabit. But when that is also your job, I feel like it ceases to become as easy of a like an escape or something enjoyable to do on the side when your life is in a worse position. Like for me during COVID, I don't want to be playing games during my downtime because I'm already like I'm reviewing VODs and playing games on stream and stuff like that. Like I want to do something different. But when you're locked inside, like it's one of the only things that you can do. Like, is that the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me it was like really hard because the only thing I can do at this point is play games, but like the only game I can really play is Overwatch, because we scrim and then we practice, we VOD review, all that stuff. But then every other Overwatch League player is going to be playing ranked and getting grinding out the mechanics and other stuff. So it's like, okay, well, if I don't do that, then they're going to get ahead of me, so I got to do that as well. And then you put this pressure on yourself to just keep getting better and getting better. So it is difficult, but even if you can like take a little bit of time away from it, like I did play some other video games that helped me like just chill out and kind of unwind,
like Jump King.
Yeah, okay.
Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft, all that stuff. But
wind down with Jump King.
Yeah. But I mean, I even know people that like picked up hobbies. Like I know Smurf bought a guitar to like learn guitar, play guitar, because
that's pretty lit.
Yeah, because he wanted to do something else besides just doing that all the time. And I think it's good to do that stuff. I know someone who bought a keyboard to learn how to play piano.
Bren bought a keyboard.
I literally did that.
Yeah.
So I mean, just need to pick up hobbies, keep yourself
Right.
distracted almost away from.
You think about picking up a hobby, Super?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Have you been
Actually
still going
did.
to the gym? You've been benching,
Dude, they
stuff
closed.
recently?
Go to the
They
gym. What? Where
Yeah,
are
they
you
closed
Your
in
home
LA.
gym equipment. You buy a bunch of home gym stuff like Bren did.
Listen, I should have, but I got lazy and I didn't. And then I just kind of was like, I'll do it when they open, and they never opened.
Tomorrow.
So they never reopened. And yeah,
And
I
now
mean,
Noodle Arms are back.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I actually wanted to learn how to play piano too, but I never bought a keyboard.
God, it'd be so fucking funny to like a couple of years from now see who's kept up the quarantine band.
Oh,
Yeah.
Get the band together.
I-
Super Brennon Smurf
I have not
could
touched
be
the
a band.
keyboard in like weeks. I hadn't touched it in weeks. Why didn't I play the keyboard? Oh, because I was shifting my schedule for the grand finals. And I didn't want to be playing the piano at 3 o'clock in the
5
morning.
a.m. You're just
Yeah. So I was
Why?
like,
You got headphones anyway.
no, but I was like keeping myself to trust. You know when you just completely flip your sleep schedule like 12 hours, and your body's just out of whack. Your body's screaming at you like you should be asleep right now, and instead I'm up and like the only thing I want to do is like be on autopilot. I don't want to learn anything. You know, I don't want to engage my brain.
Mice.
Yeah,
Turn your brain off.
I just want to get through it. But yeah, I can 100% empathize with what you said as well. I'm actually surprised as well that we haven't seen more retirements come out of this year. Because even for me, like, you know, when I was joking about the surfing expedition.
Got to become a surf instructor in Bali.
Like, yeah, I've had some low moments in terms of my motivation. And I'm not even playing the game professionally. I'm not even doing all that stuff on a full-time basis. I'm just commentating the game. And even I was feeling some very low points. I cannot imagine what some of the players and yourself were going through when you're literally scrimming, practicing. It's your entire livelihood, like streaming. You got to play, you got to keep on top, all during the situation. So it's been hard. It's been absolutely hard.
I feel like though now that you've probably done it for the whole year, you're kind of like, okay, I can handle pretty much anything now, or at least you have a better grasp of how to handle it.
Right.
I think part of it as well is like when you're going through like everything that's kind of gone on recently, it's really easy to kind of think that like it's only happening to you, but then once you start talking to other people, like everybody feels
like
the
I'm
same
miserable
way. So it's like
too.
so it's like you're all just kind of stuck in this miserable ship together.
God, that sounds delightful.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's a little bit better for you. You get to play games with other professional players. Me and Bren have to play with Josh. And occasionally Smex will play with us, but he's usually intoxicated.
But we still lose when we play with Smex, by the way. Like, we actually still lose. How is that? It's not a sly against Smex. It's literally just me calling out Sideshow right now.
Dude, Josh made the most.
Yeah, I saw he got boosted to like Masters or something on his
That's
insane.
true.
Yeah.
I am a Masters player, and these guys are constantly dragging me down.
Listen, the word on the street is that I've heard that you got boosted by other people. That's just don't shoot the messenger. That's just what I've heard.
You need to get to Diamond Super to be able to play with us.
Get to Diamond.
That's a long road.
Back down that way.
That's a long way down.
Well, aren't you rank 1?
What's up?
What's your rank right now on the leaderboards?
I'm like, I don't know, 4,600 something.
Yeah, but like, are you like number 1 in the leaderboard?
Top 10.
Top 10. Yeah, Matt, that's literally like asking. I genuinely think that's like against a Geneva code to throw yourself down the diamond from that level. We can talk about some other stuff now. I mean, we got in here like some Overwatch 2 stuff. What we're hoping for from Overwatch 2. Super, is anything?
Wait, why?
Because it was the 1 year anniversary of the announcement of the game yesterday.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't have that much info. But is there anything you're hoping for, Super, with like the introduction of Overwatch 2? Do you hope they like do some big fundamental changes to the game at all?
Well, I know this is kind of funny because I'm a pro player. I'm supposed to think the opposite, but dude, I want like a give me like a fully fleshed out story that's not just like you know, the PVM events, and I want like real cinematics, and I want to just, you know, with an actual full, you know, give me like a 20+ hour campaign and like all that. I want just everything. Give me everything. I think that'd be sick.
I almost feel like it's almost become a little bit of a meme because they haven't said anything about it in so long. But like, if you go back to like the BlizzCon announcement, like some of the stuff they showed with like the talent trees for the different heroes, and like some of like the way that they kind of have like the single player looking, like you know, I think we'd all like some changes to like the multiplayer in some capacity. I don't know how you do it. I think it would be really awesome to figure out a way to make it a little bit more stream friendly. I think sometimes like just trying to queue up competitively on stream, and it can get a little bit whether it be repetitive or like at the pro level, like you just wait in long queues, like some way to kind of figure that. But I think with all the single player stuff,
that one out.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to open up like restrictions or something. But with all the single player stuff, it actually looks super sweet.
Yeah. They have been incredibly radio silent on it, haven't they? Which I think indicates
We've
that
really
they,
got nothing since.
yeah. As
the
soon as they start saying anything, they've probably got a bunch of stuff to share.
Oh yeah.
Because like the way that game development teams normally do it is either they drip feed stuff over time to keep
Well,
people
you
really
don't want to
interested,
blow your
or they go
load,
for
you
some
know.
big nut.
How excited are the pro players for Overwatch 2?
I mean, I know, because like we were told that Echo is like the last hero for Overwatch, so it's like, you know,
Yeah.
we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. I hope they come out like, I want like, this is like crazy expectations. I want like 3 new heroes per role, and I want that entire fleshed out campaign with everything. I think that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
You don't want any changes to like the fundamental game, though, because there was like some talks about them. Like they were rethinking. I know Jeff posted like a forum post about them rethinking the concept of tanks in terms of like maybe removing shields.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I mean, I don't know. I think if there's something that like, I mean, everyone talks about it. Well, actually, you know what? No, I think. So this might be a hot take, but I think the worst designed game mode in Overwatch is not actually 2CP. I think it's Control, but people don't really complain about Control because it's a lot more fun to play than 2CP is.
Yeah.
But I think Control is so like busted on most maps with like the way, like it's like capping the point and then trying to like retake. I think that is it's such a pain in the ass. But no one really talks about it, I think, because it's just more fun to play than Assault is. So it's just like, okay, well, you know.
What do you think about the push game mode?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of almost reminds me of what's it called? From TF2, Payload Race. Payload Race, yeah. So I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know how good it'll be. I mean, because I feel like if it snowballs, the map can be over in like 2 minutes. But you know, we'll see what. I guess we'll see how they do it.
It's a really cool idea. I love the concept of the game mode. I mean, it's the devil's in the details as always, but
right. And I don't know, like, is it like a time limit? Like, what happens if like no one caps in like 8 minutes or whatever it is? Like, does it just overtime? How, like, is it the furthest along?
I think it was the furthest along. I think that's what they said at the last BlizzCon, and that's how it was. And I do think, to Brenton's point about the tanks, they talked about like the effects of shielding in the game, and then they also kind of talked about design of tanks. If tanks were more designed in the sense of being like Roadhog, where they were like offensive characters as opposed to just kind of like shields, would more people be inclined to play tank? Would the tank role be better? Makes the game way more lethal. I think some interesting stuff they should try with like Control is stuff that kind of worked in like King of the Hill and like your Halos and whatnot, with like neutral objectives away from the point to try and force different types of fights and movement on the map. I think because what it becomes is one team gets it and they just hold a choke and then they wait for the other team to slam in.
It's
and
too
then
formulaic, you know. It's
that's
like,
the thing for me, right? It's like there's so many chokes in the game, and if you don't have shielding, then there's so much choke and so much spam because people just reload their entire clips all at once, that unless you have some kind of shield or some way of mitigating it, you need like really hyper mobility to be able to get on the map. Like really like slow characters kind of need the shields, otherwise they're gonna just get stuck never being able to push.
I don't think people mind shields though. I think people have an issue when it becomes like the game revolves around the shield, like double, like Arisa Sigma, like because I think that like because no one's complaining about Reinhardt, right? Like no one. I don't think people are ever saying, oh, you know, Reinhardt shield's OP, which I still don't know why they nerfed his shield. By the way, I'm gonna go on, just quick side rant. Just revert his shield nerf and revert his shadow nerf. He didn't need it. He's already struggling enough. But like no one's complaining about Reinhardt shield. It's just like when the game becomes too shield dependent or shield, you know. What's the word?
Everything is about the shields. You're trying to just break shields before you can push.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whereas with Reinhardt, you don't wait to crack his shield before you push.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to with Arisa. But I think that's about making the shields dynamic. The great thing about Rein is that he can't just keep his shield up the entire time, because he loses all offensive capability and movement, basically. And then when it's gone, he's just dead. Like Orisa is not the same. You put down the shield and then it's just fire and forget. You just put down the shield and then you forget about it and you just fire another one afterwards. Like it's about making these abilities much more
and that's
dynamic and interactive.
Yeah, like I like the fact that like Ryan can't shoot when his shield's up, but Orisa and Sigma can. And like it's like and it's not like it's like light. It's like they're oppressive too. It's you know, especially if she has Bongo up, then forget about it. But Ryan is he's mainly team oriented with the shield, but Orisa can be like she can do whatever she wants with it.
Yeah,
it's the decision making process. Like Reinhardt has to make a decision when to shield because it takes something else away from him. Orisa, you should basically just be shielding on cooldown. And there's like very minimal decision making there.
And people don't mind actually. This may be a hot take, but people don't mind when the character that's oppressive is at least fun. Like I think the thing with Orisa is like when she was a must pick like all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not really engaging. Like when if it's Ryan Zarya like all the time, like I mean
some people find
I'm
Orisa
okay
fun.
with that. I mean some people do, but I think the majority of people would say it's not a role they want to be forced to play.
Yeah. Like I feel like people love playing Ana because she's so fun, even though she was pretty strong for a while, and she still is pretty strong. But like, I just think because it feels better to get like dominated by not like she hits like a nasty sleep on you, and then she it's like okay, well fair play. But like when you're playing against an Orisa, it's like oh god, I get pulled again, I get pulled and then one shot. It's like okay, I don't know.
I mean, I also think if they ever decided to go free to play, I think that would be huge like, in terms of numbers.
I was just about to bring up the monthly active users because that was the report that came out recently, right? And that to me, I mean, have I just been living with my head under a rock? That's the first time I've ever seen monthly active users for Overwatch ever.
I think so too. Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever seen that reported. Like that,
I've never seen player numbers for Overwatch ever. So
no, never. And
I
so
think
this was
it's usually whenever companies release numbers like that, though, it's tactical in terms of the reasoning for it. It's not like a dick measuring thing. There's a purpose behind it, whether it's a secondary way to drive hype or stock prices, things like that. But I mean
that's what it was. It was an earnings call. It was
an earnings call.
Like I think this is an indication though that the game is in a really good place, though. Honestly, if you're ever to leave the game at this kind of state, I've heard a lot of people say that the game is in the best state that it's ever been in. I'm inclined to agree with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing more of the game recently than I ever have, despite the fact that they've nerfed the only two heroes I can play, which is Genji and Widowmaker, and now I cannot even play those. But the game's still fun. Like I feel like they keep making these little additions, little changes that do change the game, like the Soldier 76 recoil shit, and
I think it's a lot of like it's so many people who are interested in the game that we don't really like engage with or see. Like it's obviously huge on console,
we
right?
have a huge console player base.
PlayStation, Xbox, the Switch.
Yeah,
it's still in the top 5 in like Korea and the PC bongs. Like it's huge in China. Like it's just it's hard to like kind of contextualize like how many people that is in total. But like to see like that number. Like that's great for the game, considering we haven't had many large updates. That I think that bodes really well, like for a game like Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I mean, Overwatch is I was looking up like monthly active users for some other games just to compare because 10 million sounds like a lot, but if you don't really know what other games are, then it's hard to be able to tell. And CS:GO was having its all-time peak in February. Remember that? Like just before Valorant released, and they hit 24. So it's like half the size of the absolute all-time peak. Not just under half of CS:GO. And then I was like, oh well, what other games are really popular on Steam? Dota, and Dota's the figures that I could find were most recently were last year, and last year they were at 11.2. So it's very similar size to some other like enormous games of its size. And I mean, considering how much people like to talk about people leaving Overwatch, there must have been fucking billions if people have been leaving at the rate people say.
Yeah, I mean, I started talking to my chat about this the other day, and I was like, because I think it's hard to think about, but I was like, in terms of overall gaming, like Overwatch is like one of the largest, or would be like on the free market of like games, it would be one of the most sought after IPs in the whole industry. Just for the fact that it's grown this big with one game, and you can already kind of see, like, as Super's talking about, like seeing a single player campaign and stuff, like more cinematics, more lore, like spin-off games with individual characters or something like that. Like you can grow this like so big.
Yeah.
How much time do you have, Super?
I got time.
All right, cool. I was just
Yeah, we got another 3 hours.
I was just thinking there as well, just like an open question to a lot of the players that are having these like burnout issues this year. If you can kind of hold on until Overwatch 2, whenever that is, you've got to expect the game to inject some kind of like new life. There's like probably going to be some structuring, maybe the addition of like big money coming in or more attention and that kind of stuff. Like that's got to be, if you're thinking really long term about your career, that's like a potential pop off game. Even if you don't want to be a player in it, that's a potential pop off game to be a streamer in or something like that.
Yeah.
Ride the hype. Like that's got to be on the horizon for these guys.
I feel like though, like the problem is like a lot of people have like they've lost so much hope. Like I mean, it sounds bad to say, but like because what was announced at BlizzCon? Shadowlands was announced, Diablo 4 was announced, and Overwatch 2 was announced, right?
Yeah.
And you see, Shadowlands already has like they have a release date. It's coming out this month. Diablo 4 they've had like multiple blog posts about like stuff that's coming in the game, and then Overwatch 2 is what?
Waiting.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like so it's like you see all the other games getting like, you know, all this love and all these updates, and you know you get excited to see that, but then you just see Overwatch 2 and then a year later still nothing. It's like, well,
I think it's
what do you do?
Yeah, I can see from a player side how you would kind of like be like, oh well, what's happening or whatnot. But I think you kind of look at how the WoW team like handles things, and like they're like there's like the public like beta, like, you know, monthly updates with like lore and Ian, and I think the Overwatch team is much more like reserved, secretive, and like you'll know when it's like ready, right? I think especially in the world of games right now and design, nobody wants to put the date out and then have to push it back, kind of like Cyberpunk, right? They've had 4 release dates now. Like,
maybe this is me being like very I mean, recently I've been feeling more and more optimistic. I don't know what's wrong with me, but the with the Overwatch in general, I'll say this:
the Overwatch.
Typically the dev team in Overwatch has been very vocal about what they're doing. They did the dev updates on a regular basis, forum posts. They are, generally speaking, quite vocal. And I would take radio silence, honestly, as a sign that the shit is just getting done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they must be on full speed ahead right now with developing Overwatch 2.
That's what I would assume, yeah.
So, I mean, but it's like it's a double-edged blade. Here's the thing. If you're playing Overwatch already and you're committed to the game, like, you've already got the fucking, what is it? The endemic source players who are just so insecure, just looking over the river, being like, just praying that Overwatch fails and dies. So like it's already been like this point since Overwatch was released.
There's a large group of players out there though who I think like when Overwatch 2 comes out are looking for a game like Overwatch to play, like something that is not tactical, more arena, like
it's a unique game.
Yeah, it's a unique game where I think you kind of bring back some of that, the vibes and the feelings from like when the game originally launched, and like add some even more polish to it, more features and like whatnot. It'll be a game I think a lot of people flock to, because right now people are just kind of like, you know, playing Valorant, playing Warzone, just kind of playing. Sometimes I think they're just kind of playing games just because, I mean, when they have to stream something, but like they're just kind of like, well, this is what people are watching, so I'll just play it. Where I think Overwatch could be a game that could really excite numerous different bases.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can move on from this and actually talk about some of the roster changes as well, at least the ones that have been announced.
Super's been let go from the Eternal.
I drank too much water. To liquidate my throat.
Let's talk Danteh going back to the Outlaws. I mean, we can just give our brief thoughts about this. There's a lot of the confirmed signings. Yeah, absolutely expected. I mean, Danteh, I think, is the best player on the Outlaws. So if he wasn't re-signed, then I'd be like, okay, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah, this is a good sign. I mean, Danteh is a good teammate. You played with him, right, Super?
Yeah. I think Dante's a pretty good player. I think he kind of gets overshadowed because his team is always sucking ass. But you know, I think he's pretty good, and I think if his team was good, I think you get a lot more recognition.
Yeah.
I think Danteh is a player who, I think you put it perfectly, like, if he was on a better team that was like contending for like playoffs and whatnot, like we'd be talking way more about him and like how good and individually like talented he is.
I wish he'd shave that stupid ass beard though. Jesus Christ.
Pause that, Kurt.
Yeah, when it gets the close up, yeah, that's gotta go.
I mean, I don't
Just
know.
you don't need to just give it a little trim, you know. Just
A little
give it,
shape up, a
just
little
give it a
shape
little
up.
shape up, a little
do
trim.
something.
It does look a bit darker though. Like it looks like he's got a bunch of hair in like
What's
some
that?
spots, but not. That is a
That's
raucous booty
raucous?
pick, I believe.
That's
Yeah.
raucous, yeah.
Okay,
That
interesting.
is
Interesting.
Raucous front booty. It looks like, but
That's yeah.
he'd be a player that if he was on like one of the top teams finishing in the league, we'd be talking about constantly.
Yeah, like
the upper echelon of damage players.
I think if Danteh was on like a team like I don't even know, like a team like Mayhem, even I think people would be like, wow, like Danteh.
Fucking hell, he doesn't shut up about the Mayhem, does he?
Are you
Came back and
stupid?
he's talking about it
Dude,
again.
No, that's not. I'm not talking about the Mayhem. If you didn't have to go take a piss,
Good Christ, he doesn't shut up.
Yeah, I want to see the Outlaws build a mixed roster though. I think we've been talking about like the rumors and the kind of the outlook of the teams, and there's some teams that seem to be kind of raring to go with like these Western super teams or these Western players. Like there's not that many, I don't think, good Western players lying around. And if you try and compete, we've already talked about like the cannibalization, but I want to see Outlaws build a mixed roster, especially now that they've got like both Harsha and Junkbuck, I think, are the coaches, right? For this team now, like the co-head coaches, like their only experience realistically has been working in like mixed teams or Korean teams. So, bro, it makes complete sense to me that Outlaws should be building, maybe not around Danteh, but like definitely working towards that kind of objective, you know?
He's a huge piece. I think a lot of other teams would have loved to have him join the roster this upcoming season.
And it does seem like, it seems like 2019 all over again here, where you come into the off season and there's all of these rumors about people going budget mode. And you know, the Valiant just get rid of everybody and they're looking to build budget teams, and everyone's like, oh, I remember there was rumors circulating last year about all of the, like, basically there was like 10 teams that were supposed to be going budget mode, and then they ended up I don't know, there was like 5 maybe that did that max, and everyone else was trying to make really big teams. It seems like a lot of the discussion in this offseason has been about, oh, you know, there'll only be a few teams, but they're going to be massively divided. Like there's going to be all of these, there's going to be a few teams right up at the top who are really trying to make super teams, and then everyone else is going to be kind of keeping it super budget. But it does seem like there's a bunch of people who are actually paying fairly big money at the beginning of the offseason to try and make something happen.
Well, what I think is some teams realized with the core that they had, they were not going to be able to beat teams at the tippy top. And to be able to do that, you either needed to bring in more players, right? Like, which is very difficult to bring in talent of that level, right? Or just say, hey, let's like try and build some homegrown talent like the Valiant, and then kind of develop over time, and then maybe add some pieces down the road, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I thought a lot of people were going to be budget, and instead,
it seems
like more the other way.
I think, to be fair though, a lot of the times you'll see the top talent get signed earlier in the offseason rather than later, because teams don't want to let that talent get away. So if like you have like a top tier player, you don't want to like just kind of push them off, because they're gonna get offers from other teams, and you might lose them. So you know, you're gonna want to find that talent and sign them first, and then figure out everything else later.
Yeah. That's kind
plug
of how
everybody
it went
else
last
in.
year, actually. Like, come to think of it, because there was similar rumors going around that we'd have some teams go on budget, some teams going super team. What ended up happening is that a lot of teams got some very powerful early pieces and players, and they were like, oh, fuck, do we really want to go budget with this? Nah, I mean, and then they ended up spending more money to try and kind of get a better roster out.
Or some teams, they built those like big rosters, and then the other teams like realized like, wait, there's actually a ton of good players like left over, and put together like some pretty good teams out of the rest of it.
Yeah, that's also pretty viable.
Agile when you're developing these teams. All right, next up in the list we got Dallas Fuel. They've added a couple of more pieces. They're going. We theorized they were going full element Mystic. They threw us a little bit of a curveball because they picked up Fielder and Repel as well. So they've picked up these two players. I mean, these are good pickups in my opinion. I mean, I don't think we saw the best potential out of Repel, but hopefully on this team now, I mean, this should be a new Dallas Fuel. Hopefully the curse of this organization will not pass on to these new players and new teams, because they've revamped everything, like the structure, the coaches, everything's gone. So I want to see this team have some success now. And these are good pickups in my mind. I mean, Fielder...
And maybe Fielder gets to play on low ping.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
The ping king, as he was known, back in the day. So I'm hoping that this is... I mean, I think that these are good moves, and I'm hoping it works out for Dallas.
They still need a main support, though. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And also, I mean, so Repeller's played with these guys before, but actually, I mean, when I say he's played with these guys before, he's played with Sparkle, I think, and that's about it, because it was a totally different tank line and support line back when he used to play. But he's worked with Rush, so that's like pre-existing synergy. And so it's basically Element Mystic at the moment plus Fielder, who is a beast. But they still need to fill the two most important roles, in my opinion. Like, there's always some cracked flex support player that you can add to a team. I feel like there's just a wealth of that talent. But for really solid main tanks, it's a premium. Little Super here is worth his noodle arms weight in gold because he can play main tank at a top level. Absolute gold player. Not in terms of his rank, but in terms of solid gold. Yeah, but the thing is, it's absolutely true, because there's such a... I don't know about this, Super, but it feels like this watching that main tank, more than any other role in the league, if you pick up a bad one, you're in a shit situation. And the difference between the top level and even the mid level, actually, is crazy big compared to any other role.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, there's so much intricacies in a team, and there's so much that goes on when you're playing, and different strats, different people talk different than other players. It's just so much different stuff. But I think in general, main tanks are always kind of like the rock of the team. Like if you have a main tank that's kind of lost, then you're gonna have a bad time, because we've seen teams that have they'll have a DPS struggle on a given day, or whatever it may be. Maybe a main support's dying too much, but I feel like if you're having a main tank that's feeding, or not having a good game, then you're gonna be in for a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one position I feel like in the league where when you watch a game, you can clearly tell when one main tank is just completely outmatched, or just completely off with the rest of his team.
Look at Smurf in the Countdown Cup finals against Fusion.
Yeah.
He was doing some he was doing crazy things.
Yeah.
This has given me deja vu to last year. Exactly the same situation last year, or even maybe the year before that, I think. After 2018, I was convinced that, if you picked up a good main tank, it solves a lot of your team's potential problems. And I think that still holds true to a degree, but it's like you were saying, Super, there's too many variables. There's too much other stuff alongside that to really just say, just pick up a good main tank player and all your problems will be solved. There's too much that goes into that. Now I think... I kind of think the same that I did back then about main tanks. I think the same for coaches. I think good coaches are few and far between. You get a good coach, you fucking hold on to them.
Oh, dude, coaching in the Overwatch League is such a problem, dude. You guys have, I really, really feel like you can probably count on your fingers, with room to spare, coaches that can actually contribute. It's.
I thought you were about to say you really believe that Bren could coach.
No.
Maybe. Listen, maybe.
That, it's just... I don't know.
He didn't say no, Bren.
I don't know.
Super. How do you know? Do you mean just from talking to other people? Because you haven't been coached by... you've been coached by a range of people, but they're mostly under Krusty, right? There's a wave of kind of assistant coaches underneath him that you've been going through.
Yeah.
But presumably that information, that opinion of yours is built by talking to other people around the league, other pros working.
Yeah. I've talked to so many different pros about who's doing what, and even players I don't talk to, teams on players on full Korean rosters. I hear from my teammates who's doing what or how that's going. So I've heard some people say their coaches are useless. I've heard some people say that their coaches actually do stuff. And it's a little wild out there. It's a little wild west out there.
Listening to this, they are sweating.
It's so
They are
new. Like
sweating.
it's so, and like the ecosystem just kind of blew up overnight, right? That I think some are probably learning on the job.
Yeah.
Just kind of how to do, like, a lot of, like, a head coach is obviously like trying to be additive, but a lot of it is like managing personalities and managing people, making sure everybody can stay on the same page and get along, which I think kind of probably goes under the radar sometimes, because when your players are happy and they all get along, they will tend to play
Oh, that
better.
is so important. I
Yeah.
feel like Shock is like one of the few teams where it's like it's actually like you're like friends and like you can actually like talk to people because again I've heard stuff that go. I mean, there was like rumors going around about Fuel last season, and I've heard stuff about other teams where it's just like it's like organized chaos basically, and it's just not
It's
not a good look.
when it starts to get out of control, it's hard to get it back on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
tough.
I'm trying to think of a way of phrasing the question that doesn't let you just fucking out a bunch of people. But
Go on.
but like, what I'm interested in knowing is, what do you think that Krusty does, or the coaches? I mean, I'm assuming that you're not lumping Krusty in with the people who do nothing. That's the base assumption that I'm working with here. But yeah, what do you think that Krusty does really well, like specifics, or any of your coaches as well, that you've heard other people don't do in the league? Like, what are you guys working with that you think others are lacking?
Well, I've heard
What's the Krusty diff?
I've heard there's a specific. I'm not gonna name who told me this, but I've heard that there was a coach out there or there was a team who when they do VOD reviews, they'll kind of be like, okay, so like what's the problem, and then they'll like the players will talk like, okay, this needs to happen, or like I was trying to do this and this person didn't do this, or we need to do this at this time, whatever it was, and then the coach kind of just like repeats it back and doesn't actually add any new like information to the table, like no new point of view or nothing.
Almost just trying to mediate the discussion between
yeah, exactly, and just not really add any new input. But when it's feedback time, at least with the Krusty, he's like, Sheba, fucking Violet, do this. He cracks the whip, and he at least even if he's not right 100% of the time, which nobody is, he can start new discussions about, like, if someone says, if he says, oh, Violet, you need to be here, Violet's like, no, I can't be here because of this, then I'd be like, okay, how about if we had this happen instead, create different scenarios. And I think that there are coaches who just kind of, like you said, just mediate the discussion between players, and they don't really I've heard this is what happens with other teams and other coaches. So
yeah,
who
they're not really
are some other
additive.
coaches? Who are some other coaches that you've heard good things about? Because that then isn't a problem, right?
You're gonna try just slowly
I'm not
work
like,
our
no,
way
by a
down.
process of elimination. I'm not saying you have to name 10 coaches that you've heard good things about and we'll just leave the others to rot. I just mean, are there other notable examples of people? Because when we're looking, sometimes you can't tell the impact of a coach just by looking at the team. Like, you don't know whether it was the players, you don't know if like they just happened to learn a meta really well.
Yeah.
Like we have high ratings for a lot of the guys that have come out of the Shock organization, but outside of that, it can be very difficult to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think every coach I've worked with in Shock I think they're all really good. Junkbuck, 9K, Arachne, Krusty, I think they're all they're all great. I've heard good things about Packing 10 too. I've heard that he even though he works remotely, which I think that's kind of that can be kind of rough. I think sometimes if you work remote, just because like okay, so for example, like when COVID was a thing, like when it first was starting up, we were all practicing from our apartments, and we did like VOD reviews in our apartments. Like players, like you don't really know what the players are doing. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention to 100% in VOD reviews because like you're at your computer, you could just like go on Twitter or whatever
on
it is.
YouTube, yeah,
and so it's like hard to get that like full attention. But like I feel like I've heard that Packing does a good job with what he does with what he can do.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I think it comes from like military background almost, where he knows the.
Was he in the military?
Yeah, I believe so.
He was.
Yeah, he knows the flow of like the hierarchy. I think of how that kind of setup is supposed to work. Because you're right. I think there's probably a lot of coaches in the league that I would imagine are probably quite scared of being wrong. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of coaches that haven't played professionally, and they're basically going off their own information.
Krusty hasn't.
Right, but you need to be secure enough
Yeah.
in your own knowledge. You can't be insecure about what you're saying being wrong, and you got to understand you're going to be wrong some of the times. But part of that comes from the understanding of, right, what I say, I mean, it depends. Different coaches have different philosophies, but some coaches will be like, my way is the highway. This is the hierarchy. I'll accept if I'm wrong. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. But yeah, I mean, is there any other coaches that you've heard about other than Back in 10?
Let me think. Oh, I've heard Moon does well stuff too. Actually,
Yeah.
I've heard Moon does. I actually even heard this from Space. You know, because he worked with Moon on Valiant. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. What the hell were we talking about? How did we go from Dallas adding field?
You were the
to
one
discussion about coaching?
brought up coaches.
No,
You
no,
literally were the
that was
one who-
Bren. That was Bren.
That was me,
Bren
bro.
talking about main tanks and being
No,
coach.
yeah, I don't know. It was a cool tangent, though. I'm a fan of that one. Let's
Fan
move on
of-
to the NYXL because they have dropped or parted ways. Very elegant.
Why would they do this?
They parted ways with a lot of the players. They've gone away with Nenne. Who are you? HOTBA, BiaNcA,
They're so
And I think
stupid.
Mondu, right?
Mandu as
They
well.
announced,
Who the
I
heck
think
do
that,
they have left?
I think he said the other day.
Okay,
on, Twitter. Let me
because
find it.
yeah, when I sent this in, it could have been outdated information. I haven't checked it up. I don't use Twitter. I don't know if I've told you guys. I don't use Twitter.
Yeah, he
so-
said that.
Dude,
He
what do
said
you mean you don't use Twitter? I literally saw you tweet a minute before we started. Some random. What did you even say?
don't listen to him.
Part of my part of like keeping my motivation and mental health good over COVID is uninstalling Twitter from my phone, banning the website, but only tweeting using TweetDeck and not keeping a timeline up. So I don't intake any tweets. I only shove my own shit out into the void.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's genius.
It's actually
Mondu
a really good
announced,
strategy. Yeah.
he announced 12 hours ago that he's a free agent.
Okay.
So they have Animo Jonak, Mano Sabiobi Libero.
And those I
Right.
believe were those are the November options, I believe, as well, when we did the free agency episode.
Right. So
This is a
they could be
team-
gone as well.
Well, this is a team like how I was talking before. Like, if you bring this whole crew back, you know what this team is at this point. Like, you know, like I do not. I think this team is great. I love all the players on this team. I don't know if they can win the league though with that team.
Well, okay. Here's. Do we want to talk about the rumors that were going around, or just leave that out?
We can
'Cause
talk
I-
about the rumors, but they are just rumors. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first off, I want to say I think dropping Nenne is stupid. I've been so high on Nenne. I'm a big Nenne fan. I think he's really, really good. I think he's
Yeah.
extremely talented. He plays Tracer, McCree, Widow, all hit scan, I think, really well. And I think NYXL is extremely foolish for dropping him. I would even go as far to say, when I've seen him on Tracer, I think he could almost even be better than Sabiobi. That's up for discussion. Not
Yeah.
entirely sure about that, but I think Nenne is really, really talented. And I think the only reason why I'm scared to say that is because I don't want to be attacked by rabid NYXL fans who think that, like, you know, Sabio was
No,
like
I
the
think,
best. But I think Nenne's really good.
I think Nene could be a huge pickup. Like we just talked about Dallas, right? Where they could use like a hit scan like Tracer player. Like, you know, they get a player like Nene. I think that could be like
Nene's so
super.
flexible as well.
We already talked about Nene leaving this roster because when the article was first released on the
Yes.
Overwatch League, it said they mutually parted ways.
Oh,
Yeah, I
really?
think that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they didn't drop Nene. It was like, well, I mean, fuck knows. Mutually parted ways can mean a bunch of different stuff.
I
as
mean,
well.
yeah.
But
That could,
He
I
didn't
mean,
play
yeah, that could mean we're dropping you. Are you okay with it? And he's like, okay, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
like,
Honestly, it could have been the fact that he didn't really play that much this year.
man.
Which he probably was like, I don't want to sit on the bench. Like I am
Like,
I am good
yeah.
enough.
but
to
he
play.
is
Like,
talented. He's one of the best currently, without knowing who else is going to get dropped all over the league. He's one of the best free agent Hiscan players that are out
I
there.
think so. I
Him
also
and
think
DM,
He's
right?
up there with like DM and who else is there? Like Glister.
I think you can make an argument after they picked up Haxel, but I think their best DPS roster that I think they like barely used, if they even ever used, was probably Nenne Libero. I am also really high on Libero. They never want to play him for some reason. I don't know
Well,
why.
I actually love Libero as well.
I think Libero is super good.
Yeah.
And Nenne as well, but they just don't put them together. I don't know.
I think Libero, like in the eye test, I think you would just kind of be like, oh, he's not as exciting or flashy as a player like Haxall, but he's very good on a lot of different heroes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll go back to what I was saying. Like, I think this team is probably deciding, like, can we contend with what we have or what we can possibly add? Like, I just don't. Like, I think they're in this middle ground spot where, like, okay, they've added to this roster over the years, right? like they've added Hacksaw, they added Who Are You, Nenne, like HOTBA came in, BiaNcA, Mondu. Like it's not like they haven't tried. Like they have tried to upgrade and add and get deeper, but it still seems like the results are the same.
I don't think the players are the problem.
I guess I'll get my hot take in for the episode. This is, you gotta get one of those per person, I suppose. So I mean, again, this is just a room. Do you want to talk about the room? I mean, if we could talk about the rumors.
Yeah, go on then. Go on. Well,
Okay,
you have to set it up. Though.
What is your rumor? Yeah.
So the rumor, I don't know if you guys saw. I'm sure you guys did. That Halo tweeted out that allegedly that NYXL is trading or shopping mono. Have you guys seen that?
Okay,
Halo Thoughts tweeted that out, and I think that if that is true, I'm not saying it is or it is. I have no idea. But if it is true, then I think it could make sense because everyone says mono is like a really great main tank and everything, which I don't disagree with. I think mono is good, and he does the job of a main tank well, and I think he really, I think he does a good job. But I think in comparison to some other top main tanks, I don't think mono's as much of a playmaker as some of the other ones are. Like I think it's more so like other people on NYXL that are like doing like making big pop-off plays. But like when I watch NYXL play and mono play, I don't think I see the same type of pop-off that I see when I see like, okay, maybe like Fearless do something or Smurf do something. Yeah. I don't see that same type of.
Well, no,
that's our biggest criticism with them.
I think the meta left him behind a little bit after like 2018 onwards, when you needed to start being a bit more powerful individual in the main tank position.
Powerful.
He and the rest of New York like to play this like safe reactive style.
Yeah.
And that just isn't the way that the game went. Like after 2018, it was all about taking control of the tempo and like setting it yourself and putting pressure on the opponents. And that's just the way that the game has gone. And instead you've got New York, and I think it's partly the players' problem, though, Brennan, because you were saying it was like a coaching issue, right? I think it's players as well. Their natural tendencies is so passive.
Sure. I mean, a good coaching will be able to fix that, I think. Good coaching should be able to adjust that. It takes a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but you've got talented players.
It's easier if you snap the team into pieces, though, and rebuild.
Sure, yeah.
Not taking a core that's played together for multiple years and changing their play style.
Yeah, I really, honestly, I don't really know where they go with this, with them dropping these players. It seems like they are trying to make drastic changes. I think they're going to have to make a decision, though, because this is a team that I imagine as well is quite reluctant to let go of some of the early core players, just from their fan base being so rabid alone. They've built up these players as NYXL. You think about the face of NYXL, you think of Sabi Olby, really, and the players alongside him. Yeah, Jonak, exactly. But changes have to be made. I don't know what capacity that is. Jonak didn't have a good season last season. I don't think this year he didn't really have that great of a year.
I feel like I see a lot of people on like Twitter still like. I'm not saying Jonak's bad or anything. He's still really good, but people are still like trying to say that he has like the best Zen. That's just not true anymore.
I just don't think that's true.
No, it's not
Alarm exists, Violet exists.
Violet, even Twilight.
Like, I think his Ana is actually better compared to the competition than any of his other roles, probably.
His Baptiste wasn't that great, honestly, this season.
His Bap and his Moira was painful at times, actually. Yeah. And I know it's a bit of a meme, like Moira, but genuinely, like the guy's decision making.
He was feeding sometimes, like hard inting. He was like the stream snipers that try and snipe me, and he just spams slurs in the chat. They will use their fade on cooldown to just try and hunt me down. And like sometimes you'd see him use his fades and it wasn't to that extent. Overreacting a little bit, trying to get a clickbait title, but it was like it was not as good. It wasn't up to scratch compared to the rest of the league.
Yeah,
but can this team improve though by replacing a lot of these players? I think with some players who play with a little bit more of that aggressive and attack mode, like Josh is talking about, and keeping some of the players that they still have under contract and kind of building, like almost like taking the new players or whoever like they bring in and be like, look, you're the core, like we're going to supplement you guys with these players that we've had for a while that we know can play well. They just need a little bit of a jolt.
They won't get better. They'll get worse.
See, the thing is, I feel like Nenne kind of was more like that, but
I
don't
felt
know.
like that was hacksaw for them as well.
I think that's a big mistake for them getting rid of Nenne. But
I
you
mean,
know.
they're almost certainly going downhill because if you're not willing to fork out ridiculous cash to be able to get like huge talents to play alongside these guys, and even then, you're not guaranteed success.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
mistakes of old might come back in. If that's not going to be the case, then you might as well sell these guys to other people that are trying to make a super team and go more budget yourself. Hell, you're New York. You've been trying to get New York, you know, like your fingers. You've been trying to settle roots down in New York City, and you've been doing it pretty effectively.
They've
But if
been
you're not
really
going to
good with
have, yeah, they've been doing really good with it. But if you're not going to have a winning team, then why not build a more local team?
Or a team for the future, right? Like, because I think there's a point in which fan bases will get angry when you're not competitive at all. Fan bases also get extremely angry when you're like kind of competitive, but not really. Like, does that make any sense? When you're like, when you can clearly beat some of the teams, but you know you don't really have a shot against like the top teams, you're just in this middle zone.
Yeah.
Like, people tend to really get angry at
I mean,
that
fans
as
just
well.
get angry
Because
in general, though, Matt.
yeah,
You know,
they
you're
get
never
angry.
going to
It's
make the fans
easier-
happy.
it's easier though to like when you're a team, like when you're a fan of a team and they just suck, like you get it. Like you're not close. Like you just know they're out of it. Like you know where the expectations are. When you have a team that looks like on paper they can get there and they consistently let you down, it's almost more brutal. Like you'd rather
Yeah.
just know your team is just a work in progress.
I think it's a difficult road ahead, honestly, for New York. I don't really know how they solve this issue without there's going to be some casualties, either on the side of the fans being pissed at them, or you know, if they keep hold of the players. I don't think that's a winning scenario.
No, these players can go elsewhere and win though. Genuinely, like any
Yes.
of these players can go to other teams. Like if someone's building a Super Korean team for next year, any of these players could go to that roster and they could win the championship.
They just shouldn't be together.
I mean, it's been
can't.
proven that some combination of them creates this weird passive reactive play. But
I
the
think
individual player skill is still possible for them to be able to win a championship.
Yeah, but I think that trickles down from coaching and the structure.
I mean, maybe not like who are you, BiaNcA, Hot, but you know what I mean. Like maybe not these guys 100% at the like tier 1 level, but I'm thinking about the rest of their roster. Like if they start getting rid of these guys, like Libero, Sabiobi, Jonak, Animo, like these people are all capable of playing at the absolute top.
Oh yeah,
we'll revisit this. You know, don't know when. Couple of weeks,
Bren's
couple of
over
months.
this.
Don't worry, we'll revisit this one. I've got the same point here again, so I'm going to skip to the Atlanta Reign drops almost everyone.
Who did they drop?
They have dropped a lot of players. I think they dropped like 6 players recently.
They kept Gator. They kept Hawk.
Did they?
Yeah, we talked about this like 2 episodes ago with the free agency one. They kept Edison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. They got rid of Fire, Fried, Dogman, Erster, Pokpo, Saucy, and Kodak.
Yep. So they have Masa, they have Iris, Gator, Hawk, and Edison. So they're 1 DPS slot away from having like an actual 6, but they do kind of trim the roster down a bit from where they were at.
What the hell is this team doing now?
So we thought Gator and Hawk would be strong at the beginning of the year, but they didn't really hit that high.
Thinking on the marketing side. Go ahead, Super.
I think because there was a lot of maybe not pressure, but I guess expectations for this team going in. Like, I mean, you guys put them like what, the number 3 in your power rankings, whatever it was.
4, yeah.
And there was a lot of people that were really high on Atlanta this season, doing well. And I think just because they were, you know what, I mean, they had a negative record this season, 10-11.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
in NA as well. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe they just maybe the owners or someone thought that it wasn't good enough, and they just I don't know.
They probably thought coming off of their end of the season 2 going into this year that, you know, we add Edison to play with Erster, like we come back again, like
Erster was like barely played.
Yeah,
it was one of the oddest things all season. I mean, a legit MVP candidate towards the end of last year, and then barely plays at all this year. Yeah. So like this could be something where they kind of know like these are the players they want to build around. So like why kind of keep some of
I don't think that's a winning strategy.
What do you mean?
I don't think keeping these players is an existing strategy. Like, who have they got left? They got Hawk. They've got
Hawk Gator,
Hawk Gator.
Edison,
Gator, Edison,
Nyrus.
Yeah, I
and
mean-
Massa and Sharp.
Massa.
So they do have 6.
Could you zoom in on that, Kurt? I can't quite see it from here.
I'm getting old, huh?
There we go. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting old. You know, the eyesight's not what it used to be. This. I mean, I like some of the players. I think Edison and Sharp have got a ton of potential. Massa, I think I've seen some good things out of. But the rest of the roster, I think we need to see some changes. That's just me. Because I think Hawk and Gator had a bit of hype coming into this season. Didn't live up to that.
They look good in double shield.
There still needs to be some changes being made. Here's the thing: do you want to win? Do you want a winning roster? You know what I mean? Like, what are we asking for here? Because I think they had this season to be to prove something. I don't know where the issues lied, but I think they had the necessary pieces to do well. They just didn't have the same the success that we were expecting of them. Did we not pay your day rate? What's going on? Were you about to leave?
No, my wire was stuck on the.
Okay,
thing.
okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good now, though.
I mean, maybe this team that they don't contend for the top 4 like we thought this year, but like, can they maybe with some better focus, like from the coaching staff, being able to focus on just these players and maybe not as many and be as spread thin helps them out a bit? Because there is talent on this roster. It's not like that was the thing with Atlanta all season long. It wasn't like really like a talent issue at times. Like they had the players to be able to contend. They just were never able to get everybody on the same page and put it together. At least that's how I felt looking at this roster.
You have any
What do you
thoughts on
think
this,
about it,
Josh?
Josh?
I have no thoughts about this. I mean, we have no idea what Atlanta Reign are going to do moving forwards. I think it's just dope that Ursa's around. I've just realized in the last couple of minutes, I've been taking a look at our runner show, and we don't have anything about the Paris players. You guys see that Paris just basically dropped everybody, like all of their French players.
They
Like,
did.
Yeah, we need to like
that was today.
squiggle that one in there because that just happened earlier today.
they-
How long
they-
ago?
They let go of Soon, Ben Best, and Nico.
Oh, they got rid of
Yeah.
their Paris players.
They got rid of the French players. Yes.
Is that
Now,
everybody?
well, FD God hasn't tweeted anything other than a sad face 13 hours ago, but he hasn't tweeted that he's LFT, and the
No, they'll
account
trade him.
itself hasn't
Well,
said anything either.
I mean, technically, but see, Paris didn't. They didn't tweet that they let them go. It's just the players
No.
themselves said that they're LFT.
Yeah,
But
and
some of the
Ben
players said
said,
they're still talking
So,
to Paris.
yeah,
yeah,
Ben
Ben
said he
Best
was still
said-
in talks.
Yeah. Ben Best said. See, but it doesn't make sense because I'm reading it. He says Paris informed me that they won't be renewing my contract, but he's still in talks. I don't know what I don't.
I mean, presumably they're not taking his option, but
wasn't he?
they-
Wasn't I thought this year was his option because he was. No,
I don't
maybe
know.
not. Maybe not. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
so. I think these guys were on option for
They
next
were on
year,
the first Paris
Mm.
team, yeah.
but possibly they want to downsize
yeah.
the contract or something. So
but yeah,
he's still in
Soon and
negotiation.
Ben Best tweeted out that they're LFT. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
and then
make
al-
sense given the changes in coaching staff for Paris and them offloading their Korean players.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of talk was like, waiting till Sparkle was eligible, and Hanbin was a midway pickup. If I'm not, was he? I don't remember.
No, it was Fielder who was midway.
Fielder, yeah, Fielder was, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Fielder was the midday pickup, and or midseason pickup, and given like that, the people said they had to wait for Sparkle to turn eligible and all that stuff. Do you think Paris had they performed worse, better, or about where you expected them to at the end of the season? Like where they placed?
better, way better.
Yeah, way better.
Better?
Than from the original projections at the start of the season, I think better.
I mean-
I think what does go under the radar is that these players did play a huge part in Paris' season. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
just like
Because
Sparkle and Exy just doing it alone. Like these guys played a considerable amount.
yeah, I think. I mean, I would probably agree, but I think the reason a lot of people were kind of disappointed was because in the playoffs they kind of just sputtered out. Like,
Yeah.
there wasn't really much of a fight from them in the playoffs, so they
The
kind of
playoffs
just like.
was bad, but the whole of the
Yeah.
regular season was good. Like
I
they
would
were-
argue that
My
Paris.
point is though that
Yeah.
I feel like people wouldn't talk about that, even though they won. What was it, Summer Showdown? Just because the end of the season was so dreadful for them that it was like,
Mhm.
okay, well that was kind of pathetic, but.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. I fucking love the Paris team. I think they honestly killed this entire season in terms of what they managed to do, because not only did they build a mixed roster particularly well, but they had French players in for Paris. The French user base or fan base is huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
The fact that they found success and notable wins with this mixed roster was just astounding. I mean, it exceeded all expectations. This could not have gone better for the Paris Eternal. But they made the early signs of them getting rid of a lot of their coaching staff, which I'm assuming was a part of their success, getting rid of a lot of the Korean players, which we know was a part of the success. And now that the French players, I should say, are not, some of them are not being renewed, but they're still in talks. This screams that they're trying to like downsize in terms of how much they're spending. This just screams.
Definitely.
It screams it.
Well, yes, it also is a situation where it's almost like we're New York, right? Like they have a lot of decisions to make. When Dallas probably calls them up and says, "Hey, we want to just drop
Steal your
the
roster.
bucket. We want to just drop the bucket on you," and you're kind of like, "Well, do we turn this down and run it back again, or do we make these moves and kind of start fresh?" There's a really strong argument.
Part of the argument we made, Matt, when they removed these Korean players and removed the coaching staff, was that they would be able to build around the existing French players.
Yes, that's
and
what I
hopefully
thought.
the French players could carry on what they've learned from being in that successful structure and spread it to the new players that they brought in. But it seems like they're not willing to do that. It seems like they want to start from essentially from 2019, which was, by all things considered, a terrible season for the Paris Eternal.
I think that's crazy. I really do think this is crazy from Paris, because these guys are by far and away the most, well, not just popular, but good French players. So if you're going to try and pick up other French players to try and replace them, they are probably going to be strictly downgrades from these guys that you had in previous years. Yeah. And then if you are trying to build some kind of all-round team from rookie talent, well, the French fan base still loves these players. Like, they are worth, say you just want to spend like 50K on all of the player contracts. Like, these guys, if they're free agents for a while and you renegotiate with them, they're really not going to find offers elsewhere, I don't think. Like, if you're Paris, I feel like you have insane bargaining power. Someone like Ben Best or a Soon or an Eco, they're probably not going to other teams unless some other team is going to try and create some budget lineup as well. So they probably want to be on Paris. The fans want them to be on Paris. So it only makes sense as long as the money can be found to support it. These guys make perfect sense to stay in Paris and just continue to develop.
It works both ways, though. Maybe the org feels like they're not going to be going elsewhere. Paris is the only place they really can go to, so maybe we don't hold out and we try and sign them for whatever we think they're worth. It's probably how this is going, right?
Oh, yeah. I feel like this is just the org making a power play.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe their purses are actually just super tight and they only want rookie talent. But at the same time, like, who are you going to find that are better than these guys?
There's like 5 or 6 French players in EU contenders, but I mean, maybe you kind of go after them with a French coach, but you would still want to try and include these players in some capacity. The fact that Ben Best said that he's still kind of in talks with Paris leads me to believe, like, and the fact I believe the team hasn't even said anything, right?
No, they haven't announced anything.
They haven't tweeted since like October 20th.
Yeah, I mean, this almost screams like, hey, you guys see if there's other offers out there, but let's keep talking and see kind of what happens, right?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I think it's the org trying to make a power play.
Like in a month or two, like, would I be shocked if like these players return to Paris with some younger French players and like a French coach? Like, not at all.
Soon was apparently streaming. There's a thread on competitive Overwatch saying that Soon was streaming in his previous stream and said that he was dabbling in Valorant because he doesn't feel comfortable going all in on Overwatch when a lot of teams have solidified their rosters or got a good idea of what they're doing for 2021. He just feels like it's way too risky to be all in on Overwatch when you don't know what you're, whether there's even going to be a spot for you in the off season.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's been grinding on that as well.
I think that can make sense. It would be unfortunate if Soon ended up retiring, honestly. That guy has a real long story or just history in Overwatch. And I think, honestly, a bit of a redemption arc as well this year. Maybe I'm alone in thinking this, but I had kind of written off Soon based on 2019. I didn't think he was an intelligent player. I thought he was mechanically quite gifted, but I just thought he was kind of falling away to the wayside based on just him, being around forever, a little bit washed. But this year he proved me completely wrong. So I would be quite upset to see him retire. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, for all the Paris fans, you can just go to the Dallas Fuel instead, and you can watch basically the same team play. Yeah.
The Seoul Dynasty have made some adjustments. This time they're actually re-signing. So they've made some announcements. They're re-signing Fitz, Marvel, and Creative. I quite like this. I think this is very reasonable. And I think that the Seoul hopefully will continue to have some success with these three players.
See, my problem is though, like, I just their inconsistency. I think in the season, I hope they figure that out better, because they were really inconsistent. They had a 12-12 map record with a -7 map score.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I think they probably should have re-signed these players, but
I think
they sign a fucking off tank.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah, they need to do that.
fucking off tank. Because in my opinion, most of the I'm gonna maul here.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry seeing Seoul. Because earlier, Super, when you were getting angry at this argument that goes around that people get lucky for playoffs, fuck me if Seoul Dynasty don't just feel like they literally are playing on a roulette table
jackpot
when it comes to those are the kind of teams I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, but this team, I feel like most of their inconsistencies stem from the fact that Gesture was playing main tank for them all the time. And they weren't actually putting Marvel in, who tends to be more consistent over the longer period. Like, you don't get the high peaks that you get with Gesture, but you also don't get the just wild inconsistency if he doesn't grab the meta. So if they just had Marvel playing main tank occasionally, but then what do we do at off tank? Get a fucking off tank, please.
Yeah.
Stop using Marvel, who was one of the most up and coming main tanks of last year. Stop using him on off tank. Dribbles.
I'll say this now. I think consistency. This is going to be my fucking phrase of the day. But I think consistency comes from, again, the structure and coaching staff. Because we've seen what the players are capable when the meta suits them, and they find a play style that works in the moment. But to keep that consistency, you don't think so, Super?
No, I'm just looking at their schedule. It just doesn't make sense how
Yeah, they were so up and down. They were like a fucking roller coaster. They were going so far up and down. I remember one week we would be done with them. We were like, no, we're never predicting Seoul Dynasty again. And they went on to win tournaments the next week.
Get this, because I'm looking at the schedule. They got 3-0'd by Dragons, and then the next week they played Charge and Spark, and then got 3-0'd by both of them.
Yeah.
Then the week after they beat Dragons 3-2, and the week after that they lost to Chengdu 3-0.
Yeah.
This team
I think that was the Chengdu meta.
Sure, but this team had an inconsistency problem. Without a doubt.
Did, yeah.
But again, I think this stems from the game plan that's being told to them, the things that are being told to them going into matches, the preparation. I think it stems from the top, honestly, and it trickles down into the players. We know the players are capable of good things. We know that.
You might be interested to learn then, Bren, that they also did not offer Wizard Hyung a renewal of his...
I'm shocked.
The typical genius.
Really? You're kidding me. Wizard Hyung?
Yeah, the typical genius did not get re-signed.
Wow. That's
but also Hokari as well, who was their GM. Yeah. So they do seem like they're making changes up at the top.
I agree with Josh. They need an off tank. They also they let go of Toby, and they let go of Slime, so they're in the market for a main support as well.
God, farewell is so dramatic. I don't know why, but something about the word farewell was.
Wait, did I go with Toby?
Yeah, they let go of Toby and Slime.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah. They haven't renewed their contracts. Those guys are free agents. They might still be in talks with them, but they've for the moment.
Yeah, they're technically free.
I see. He tweeted out LFT Overwatch League.
So you think this could be a prime spot for a lot of players, right? To be able to play in Seoul, especially if kind of lockdowns and travel restrictions are a thing. I'm sure a lot of Korean players would love to play for Seoul Dynasty.
We say this every year, don't we? We say this every year.
But I think it's even more exaggerated now with how things are.
Maybe. COVID is going to exist everywhere at the end of the day. Life is not in normalcy, but for some players, I'm sure they would prefer to be home.
Also, anywhere you play in Asia, they might be down with you playing from Korea. Like there might be a bunch of Chinese organizations that end up posting up in Korea as well.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's stuff to do. We're pretty much through all the topics. We've just got one last thing left for the day, for the night, whatever it is. Well, it's Bren's Player of the Week, presented by T-Mobile. Matt, run the clip, please, Kurt. Please. Bren's Player of the Week, presented by T-Mobile. So there it is. Yeah, my Player of the Week presented by T-Mobile this week is gonna go to. Can you roll the second clip?
1 second.
1 second. Okay, we're gonna wait a little bit. But my Player of the Week this week, I don't want to kind of like just. It goes to a very special individual. I know they've been training for this moment for quite some time. I don't hand out this award to just anybody, but I felt like they deserved it. If you can play the clip for me, Kurt. This individual has been training in a variety of roles recently. We see this guy right here. So my Player of the Week, presented by T-Mobile, is going to go to the Never Wither Skeleton, who two-shot Gmaul Spec Super and ruined his speedrun.
This guy just came out of nowhere and RKO'd me. Like, this guy just comes from the... Look at this. He comes from the rooftops. I don't even know. Look at his face. He looks right at me like he knew what he did.
I could not believe what I've just seen. I mean, the techers that he unfolded on you here. He just comes from the top ropes. Where does he even come from? We were at 0.25. Straight from the top. Look at him.
Oh!
Just two shots you.
I'm like, what is this?
I was in disbelief when I saw this. And that was a good run. That was a winning run.
I could have been a PB right there.
Yeah, so my Player of the Week goes to the Skeleton for knocking you out.
It was almost you, Super.
Stupid ass Wither Skeleton.
Bro, yeah, I mean...
and then he just stares me down as I'm ruined.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I've been enjoying your speedruns, actually. This is like prime content. I didn't realize this was the trend where we've seen a bunch of the top streamers have been doing these Minecraft speedruns. Yeah. It is good content.
My initial goal was to get a sub 30, which I got in 6 days. And then I kind of like, I feel like I lost like some focus, and then I can't get a PB going again. But you know what? I'm feeling one today. I'm really feeling one today.
I'm looking forward to it.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
I'll probably be watching. Yeah, it's been good content. Do you guys watch many speedruns?
Yeah, I actually watch a shit ton of speedruns.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the thing that Super's trying to go for? Have you seen the actual world record run?
It's crazy.
It is.
No, I've never seen Minecraft speedruns. No.
Is it 14 minutes?
14 minutes, 56 seconds, yeah.
It's fucking mental. Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
To put it in perspective, Super's best run is what, 29 minutes?
29, 26, yeah.
Yeah, and the best run for this is like 14 minutes something. And the crazy thing about the run, there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't understand until I watched the video of the guy explaining it. But there's like, I mean, this particular Minecraft run is insane RNG because you have to get good spawns, like good village spawns. You have to get lava pool spawns. Everything has to go your way so that you go from like one section to the next to try and get to the end dragon and kill him with beds. Don't ask how that works. It just works. But this guy, Minecraft also has a feature where every 5 minutes it auto saves. So if you get caught at a critical moment on a 5-minute mark and the game lags when it autosaves, you're just going to lose your run. So this guy, if he was 6 seconds later, you'll see when it's Kurt, if you could skip to the dragon portion of a little bit further forward, this is like, it's when he's actually killing a dragon with beds.
With beds?
Yeah, you got
to see what happens.
Because you'll see what happens. Because you kill it with beds. Because in this, I don't know what this is called. The end, I think.
The end, yeah.
If you try and sleep in a bed, it explodes. So that you can do a thing where you place it on the bedrock pillar and you explode the beds by trying to sleep on it, and it does a bunch of damage to the Ender Dragon. You'll see when he skips ahead.
Strat I've ever heard.
I mean, this is speedrunning in a nutshell. Like this is speedrunning in a nutshell. Yeah. So if you skip ahead, you'll see when he's doing the beds. If the dragon decided to land,
is that a dragon? Is that a thing up in the air? The dragon?
Yeah.
He has the hitbox.
Why has it got a bunch of boxes?
Yeah, those are the hitboxes. You can turn them on.
He's turned it on, the hitboxes. If the dragon landed 5 seconds later, his run would have died. Because look when he kills it here. But like he is right on the mark. Like his game would have lagged on the 15-minute mark, and it just would have, because that is very precise timing when you're placing the beds. It's like you have to get into the flow of it, the rhythm of it.
Dude, I tell you what, dude, speed running is like esports and stuff, I think it'll be like sick one day. Like, you know, MDI is with like WoW with like the dungeons and the time trials.
Yeah.
Like, imagine we were talking earlier about like Overwatch 2. Like, imagine if there's some single player team speed running type stuff with like mobs and like dungeons. Like, that would be sick.
I think it's pretty dope. I mean, that's
Yeah.
in WoW. That's what Torghast Tower is going to be. Josh has no fucking idea. He is clueless.
Yeah, Josh.
I don't play Minecraft. I watch a bunch of speedruns. I watch like Pokemon and Mario.
You ever seen Half-Life 2 speedrun? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, the backwards bee hopping. I am a big fan of Dark Souls speedruns because
Yes,
Dark
they're
Souls
incredible
is
as well.
mental for speedruns. Like
we actually need to do a speedrun in the off season as well. We've promised our community a bunch of different speedrun races. So we did one of Sekiro last time. So we need to fire up the old content machine and do something.
Demon Souls.
Yeah, we
When
should
does
rope
Demon
Super
Souls
in,
come out?
challenge him.
Yeah, there you go. I'll
Take him
crank
out.
it
we actually should do like a speedrun challenge. I'm not even kidding. Where we have to. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I said we should do a Pokemon Fire Red one, but combine it with a drinking challenge as well. I mean, obviously, we'd have to think of a different one for Super. Or
He
it'd
can
be just
drink
lemonade.
water. He can drink water.
I love this Half-Life speedrun. Look, he's just
It's insane,
flying
right?
along.
Yeah.
You just go flying. I love when he goes to Ravenholm, or right before he goes to Ravenholm on the highway. Oh my god.
Is it?
Just look how
This
fast
is
it
in
was.
a very old patch though, right? Because he's bee hopping.
Yeah,
forwards.
because I think in the
Yeah,
in the
normally they
source
do
engine-
backwards be hopping, don't they?
Right. Because in the source engine, they patched it where it's like harder, or like they made it impossible to bee hop like forwards. Like I forget what it was. I've read it, but
they
they
didn't
do put it
didn't
on a
cap the
different version.
backwards velocity.
So the way this works is extremely complicated. It's called ABHing, which is accelerated back hopping.
backwards hopping, yeah.
And there's a way to manipulate the game where you can accelerate. You start by accelerating backwards, but then you can turn your camera forward while like tapping backwards each B hop. Very
Oh, wow.
complicated to do it forwards, but obviously.
So wait,
like, if
he's
you're-
tapping backwards whenever he's bee hopping here.
as
This
far as I
one
know,
is
yeah.
a Yeah, go on, Kurt.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
Kurt-
one is a combined effort. So like they like spliced all the segments together.
Yeah.
Because you see at the bottom the name changes, and then they just put them all together, and there you go.
Oh, holy
That's
shit!
crazy.
Yeah, dude, Kurt's like our resident movement speedrunning god.
He's our
He-
producer
he-
slash movement expert.
He knows the strats. He knows he knows the movement strats. I'm
A
telling you. now.
movement expert.
Yeah. No, it's insane though. Speedrun is pretty sick. So, yeah. Good episode, I think. Honestly, all things considered. You know, we started off weak, but we're gonna fix that up in post.
Super will come on every 58 episodes.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I mean,
It'll
didn't
be
really
a
didn't talk
a
about that
recurring
beforehand,
thing.
but yeah. Hope you're down for that one.
Sounds good. Call me in what, 2 years?
yeah, like
Yeah.
a year. Yeah, you got like a year from now, right?
Bro, we
You're a
pump
little
these.
bit
We
over.
pump these episodes out on a regular basis. On a regular basis.
Weekly, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
so
it's more
a
than
week
weekly
and
these days.
or a year and 6 weeks. I'll be back.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk to your agent. You'll talk to our agents. We'll work out a little deal.
We'll send you
And-
a calendar invite now.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, and hopefully your day rate doesn't
Get it
increase
ironed out
anymore.
early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe by that point you'll be on the Jimmy Fallon show 3 times, and you would have been on ours twice.
There you go.
So
A more prestigious show.
it is actually. It's got a lot of prestige.
The number one
behind it.
podcast in all of podcasts. Plat
There you
Chat.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you want me to? How do I end this, Kurt?
I don't know. You're the
All right.
host.
Yeah. Oh, I
I like
do
to.
the-
I like to just like everybody knows at this point. I just like to leave you guys live for a few minutes again.
Yeah, and we just
Just let
okay.
you guys sulk in the.
Oh, Josh, you want to play DayZ?
I don't want to play Daisy, but I do want to see how bad it is. Yes.
It is so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm down to play.
It is so bad. All right, let's play some DayZ after this. If you like the episode and you made it to this point, firstly, what are you doing? But secondly,
'cause I'm here.
like the video if you enjoyed the podcast. Subscribe if you want to see some more. Write a comment with who our next guest should be. You know, maybe they'll replace me if you're lucky. You never know. Yeah, we'll see you guys soon. I'm pretty sure, like when whatever. Kurt, I think
Soon.
this is a good place.
The same time every week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Very
good job.
good. Very good.
Oh, are we off?